In my past life, I rescued my unconscious, naked cousin from a fire. As soon as she woke up, her boyfriend broke up with her. Now that everyone has seen you, who would want you? I tried to comfort her. Just think of it as a blessing in disguise. Now you see what he's really like. I never expected those words to make my cousin hold a grudge against me. Later, she deliberately broadcast me showering live. Cousin, why don't you try a blessing in disguise too? In the ensuing argument, my cousin pushed me down the stairs, and I died a gruesome death. My cousin, using my inheritance to recruit a live-in son-in-law, lived a happy life. When I opened my eyes again, I was reborn back to the day of the fire. This time, I turned around and bolted my cousin's door shut. Keep it tightly sealed. Don't go out and let anyone see you. I was jolted awake by the searing heat on my arm, and as soon as I opened my eyes, the billowing smoke made tears stream down my face. Shouts came from outside the window. Fire, call the police. Realizing I had been reborn, I first rushed into the bathroom, wet a towel, and covered my mouth and nose. Running to the living room, I looked toward my cousin's door. Flames and thick smoke poured continuously through the gap beneath the door, like the claws of a demon reaching out. In my previous life, I ignored the danger and rushed inside, finding my cousin unconscious and naked on the bed. Because the fire was so intense, I had to race against time to wet a blanket, wrap it around her, and carry her out on my back. On the way down the stairs, dodging the flames and falling debris already overwhelmed me, so I didn't even notice that half the blanket had slipped off her. To save my cousin, I suffered multiple burns, and my palms were nearly cooked when I opened the door. At the time, I thought it was well worth it, even though my cousin and I were not on good terms. When a life was at stake, I couldn't just stand by, but I soon regretted it. After being admitted to the hospital, my cousin, whose injuries were minor, quickly regained consciousness. I, however, had a persistent high fever due to wound infection, with pain burning deep into my bones. While I gritted my teeth and endured the debridement, my cousin was on the phone with her boyfriend. Speaking in honeyed tones, she put the call on speakerphone to recount her scare, hoping he would come to keep her company at the hospital. But as soon as my cousin's boyfriend learned she was a victim of the fire, he immediately broke up with her. Son baby, I saw online that the birthmark on the naked woman rescued from the fire looks exactly like yours. So it was you. That means everyone has seen you naked. Who would want you now? We're done. I watched the sweetness vanish from my cousin's face. I weakly tried to comfort her. Cousin, don't be sad. Any man who breaks up with you like that isn't worth it. Think of it as a blessing in disguise. At least now you see his true colors. We were born naked. Before I could finish my words, my cousin rushed to my hospital bed and grabbed hold of my few remaining fever-burned strands of hair. How dare you talk back? This is all your fault. If it weren't for you, would I have been exposed? That fire was small. It wouldn't have killed me. You deliberately ruined me, and then drove my boyfriend away, just so you could take my place, didn't you? Fever had left me weak in the limbs, and carrying my cousin had strained my back muscles. I couldn't find an ounce of strength to fight back. Fortunately, we were in a hospital, and a doctor intervened, so my cousin had to stop. Later, she announced that after being discharged, she would move into my new apartment. I firmly refused. My cousin thought I was holding a grudge, so she came back with a sarcastic apology. Sorry, cousin, I did get carried away and say some angry words, but honestly, aren't you also at fault? Aren't you going to apologize for making me expose myself? How am I supposed to get married in the future if I can't find a husband? Will you take responsibility? That day I learned that when people are furious enough, they really do cough up blood. At that moment, looking at my cousin, full of energy and aggression, I looked down at my own body, covered in injuries from saving her. The moment I opened my mouth, I coughed out a mouthful of dark blood, then immediately fell into a coma. When I woke up again, my cousin had convinced my mother and moved into my new home. Later, as the news about the fire faded from the spotlight, my cousin successfully found a new boyfriend. I thought the whole thing was behind us until one day, I was taking a shower. My cousin barged into the bathroom while live streaming. She shouted, sorry, I'll get out right away, but her body kept moving closer, and her phone camera was aimed directly at me. Flustered and covering myself, I sternly scolded my cousin. She just gave a faint smile and said, sorry, Lin Rudong, I really didn't know you were taking a shower. I thought you were still working overtime at Ruilian Company. Although the platform quickly banned the live stream after the review, my cousin had already shouted out my name and the company I worked for during the broadcast. I was doxxed. My phone number, home address, and school information were all posted online one by malicious people. In the days that followed, strangers often loitered near my home. My packages were frequently tampered with, and text messages kept popping up all day long. Pretty girl, nice figure, want to hook up. In the interest of fairness, let me show you because someone kept calling the company every day looking for me, disrupting normal operations. My boss had no choice but to fire me, and just like that, I lost a job I loved. I packed my things and returned home, dejected. My cousin looked at me smugly and said, see, now you know what it's like to have a blessing in disguise, don't you? If a company fires you, Over that, it can't be a good company anyway. You're the one who said we're born naked, so just show them. Only then did I realize that my cousin had deliberately streamed my bath live. Furious, I started grappling with my cousin, but since I hadn't fully recovered, I was no match for her. She shoved me down the stairs from the 20th floor. I shattered into pieces. My mother hired people to search for days, but in the end, they could not gather enough of my body for a proper burial. After my death, my cousin claimed I had committed suicide because the company fired me, and she demanded compensation from the company. To avoid further trouble, the company paid 100,000 yuan in compensation. All that money went into my cousin's pocket. She swore to take care of my mother in her old age, and coaxed my mother into handing over all my properties and savings to her. After my cousin used my assets to recruit a live-in son-in-law, she directly kicked my mother out of the house. Seeing my mother thrown out, she was so overcome with rage that she fainted. In my fury, I felt my very soul boil. Then I opened my eyes, and I was back on the day the fire broke out. Glancing around the living room, I fixed my gaze on my cousin's piles of goods. My cousin is currently unemployed. On a whim, she had decided to start live streaming, so she bought a bunch of cosmetics, tripods, and costume props, but when the packages arrived, she couldn't even be bothered to open them. She just tossed them haphazardly into the living room, even though I told her many times that cardboard boxes are flammable, harbor bacteria, and can even carry cockroach egg cases, and urged her to unpack them and throw the boxes out. She still did whatever she wanted. With that in mind, I quickly moved the delivery boxes to my cousin's doorway and stacked them high, blocking the door. Cousin, I've sealed it up tight for you for the rest of your life. Don't blame me if you ever get exposed again. I watched as the flames lit up the corner of the cardboard boxes, and the fire rapidly spread. I turned and dashed out the door like a bolt of lightning. For the first time in my life, without my cousin on my back, I rushed to the second floor unimpeded. By the time I was almost out, only a small section of my hair had been slightly singed. Steeling myself, I pressed my calf against the burning doorframe. The searing pain felt like tens of thousands of wasps stinging the same spot all at once, and soon my flesh was exposed on my calf. Seeing that I had achieved the desired effect, I dragged my injured leg and stumbled out of the hallway. As soon as I got out, I saw my uncle craning his neck to look my way. Seeing me alone, he rushed over immediately and clamped his hands firmly on my shoulders. Where's your sister? Why didn't you tell her to escape with you? Are you trying to get her killed? The onlookers, sensing gossip in the air, turned their gaze toward me. I asked suspiciously, Cousin, is she at home? She told me she was going out. I hurriedly pulled out my phone from my pocket and showed the chat logs. Cousin, please tidy up your things this afternoon. The house is too messy in no time. I have something to do right away and won't be home this afternoon. This is my cousin's usual trick. Whenever asked to do housework, she lies, claiming she has a headache, a fever, or some urgent matter to deal with later. Many times, I ended up cleaning it because I just couldn't stand watching anymore. In my previous life, I only suspected she was lying to me again, which was why I specifically went to check if she was home before fleeing. For the moment my uncle saw the chat log, he jumped straight up. How can you be so stupid? She's lying to you. She's definitely still in the room. Oh, my daughter. I immediately became even more panicked than my uncle and gave him a push toward the building. Really? Then hurry, uncle. Go save my cousin. After pushing my uncle, I pretended to wobble unsteadily left and right, then flopped to the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. Blinking back the tears stung out by the smoke, I patted my injured leg and started crying outright. I'm so useless. I burned my leg, sister Bebe. I really wanted to save you. Then I crawled a couple of paces on the ground and reached my hand toward the direction of the stairwell, as if grasping for the only hope. Seeing this, the onlookers couldn't help but shed tears. These sisters are so close. My uncle took 2 steps toward the building, looking at the flames surging from the smoke-blackened stairwell. He stopped, hesitating, and looked back into the distance. The sound of fire trucks was drawing nearer, but still hadn't arrived. The uncle shouted angrily at the crowd, Are you all just going to stand there watching? Why aren't you following me to save them? Someone in the crowd replied, Spare us your moral blackmail. Even you, her own father, are hesitating. Why should we risk our lives? Aren't our lives just as valuable? Who said that? Who said I was hesitating? Get out here. The uncle trembled with rage and pointed his finger at the crowd. Watching my uncle deliberately stall for time, I found it utterly ridiculous. In the previous life, he and my cousin both blamed me for not being careful enough in the fire, which led to my cousin being exposed. But now he didn't even have the courage to enter the fire scene. In the previous life, my uncle even brazenly said to me, Radong, if you ask me, you're really going out of your way. The firefighters put out the fire in just 2 or 3 minutes. To be blunt, your sister didn't need you to save her at all. Your sister is blessed. The fire could never reach her. Just look, she doesn't have a single scratch on her. That's the best proof. Thinking of this, I couldn't help clenching my fists. In this life, I want to see if my cousin's blessing still works. 5. The people around them weren't going to indulge my uncle You still have time to argue here, isn't that your own daughter in there, too? Young men rushed up from the crowd, looking very familiar. Stop arguing, saving lives is what matters. Seeing that someone had responded, the uncle moved his feet and shouted to the two young men, you two go first, charge now. The two young men furrowed their brows, but we don't even know which house is yours. How can we lead the way? The uncle had no choice but to steel himself and charge in with them. No sooner had the group disappeared from the hallway than the firefighters arrived. The firefighters set up a warning line. I was also pulled onto an ambulance by the paramedics to have my wounds disinfected. As minutes ticked by and I smelled the acrid smoke, my heart began to pound with unease. In my previous life, after my cousin and I escaped the building, there were no other trapped people inside. So the firefighters immediately set up high-pressure hoses on the exterior wall and aimed at the flames to extinguish them, preventing the fire from spreading further in this life. With the concern that there might still be people inside the fire zone, the high-pressure hoses brought by the firefighters could only be aimed at the exterior wall to cool it down. Watching the fire threaten to spread further, I felt a twinge of guilt. If my personal vendetta led to more casualties, I feared I would never be able to repay that debt. Suddenly, the crowd erupted, shouting loudly, they're saved, they're saved. To my surprise, the firefighters carried two people out of the stairwell. I pushed through the crowd, shouting that I was a family member, and squeezed my way to the front. The first one brought out turned out to be the young man who had followed my uncle into the building to help. Lying on a stretcher, he groaned in pain while clutching his head, blood gushing uncontrollably through his fingers. His wound clearly wasn't from burns. I was wondering what had happened when my thoughts were cut off by a piercing wail. 6. I had imagined what my cousin would look like after being burned by fire, but everything before me made me realize that I had still underestimated the cruelty of the flames. Everyone fell silent. My cousin's once delicate face was now pitch black, with several large, oozing blisters swelling on it. Though her body was covered by clothing, through the holes in the fabric, it was clear that she had suffered extensive burns. Her bare arms looked as if they had been charred, cracked to varying degrees, revealing wood-like patterns. There was no gushing blood, no broken limbs, yet the sight was still horrifyingly intense. A young child had already begun to cry, and my cousin groaned, her body stiff as if she could not move at all. I soon discovered the reason for her stiffness. Her skin had stuck to the stretcher. If she moved too much, those patches of skin would be torn off, flesh and all. Even imagining it made one's scalp tingle. In an instant, my cousin spotted me in the crowd, her eyes blazing with rage, the blisters on her face trembling with fury. It's you, you're the one who blocked my door. You've reduced me to this. She struggled to climb down from the stretcher, her blackened and red and burned arms leaving charcoal-like marks on the ground. Perhaps turning her indignation into strength, she crawled with terrifying speed. Like a vengeful ghost from a horror film, she roared, "Why did you hurt me? Why?" 7. As my cousin drew closer, the air filled with the stench of sizzling, overcooked fat. I had to fight the urge to cover my nose, following their duty. The medical staff stepped forward to hold my cousin back. "Patient, don't do that, it will affect your wound healing later." The firefighters also helped lift her. "Hurry and help her take off her clothes for treatment. Those citizens who went in to rescue people don't know that dry chemical powder is corrosive to human skin. They used it to put out the fire on her, but if you don't treat it soon, her skin will be corroded all the way through." When her cousin heard this, her expression turned panicked. She wrapped her arms around herself. "I won't take them off. I'd rather die than take them off. If I lose my virtue, who will compensate me?" Upon hearing this, everyone present furrowed their brows. Another young man who had followed her and jumped out and said, "I shouldn't have saved you. Damn it, you should have burned to death." "Hey, firefighters, if you ask me, just leave her alone. She's crazy." Listening to the young man's complaints, I roughly understood what had happened. By the time they arrived, my cousin was trying to get past a fire started by a delivery box in front of her bedroom door. After hesitating several times, the clothes on my cousin caught fire. Seeing this, the young man and my uncle shouted at my cousin while putting out the fire at the door, "Take off your clothes, take them off now." Anyone with common sense knows that if a person catches fire, the most effective thing to do is to remove the burning clothing as quickly as possible. But my cousin acted as if she hadn't heard a thing, just screaming and running wildly around the bedroom. This made everyone even more anxious. My cousin had committed another major error. Running while on fire increases airflow, which only makes the flames burn more fiercely. In the heat of the moment, one of the young men risked danger and rushed into the bedroom, tackling my cousin to the ground to help remove her coat. But pinned down, my cousin shouted, "Hooliganism, rape." Then she grabbed whatever was at hand and struck the young man. After that, no one dared to touch her again, but they couldn't just Stand by and watch her burn to death, urged on by my uncle. The two young men eventually used a dry powder extinguisher to put out the flames on their cousin's body. The young man spoke rapidly, his eyes reddening as if from grievance. Firefighter, sir, my friend and I both have fire safety certificates, and we know dry powder extinguishers aren't meant for use on a person, but we had no choice, she just wouldn't cooperate. Hearing this, my mind seemed to go utterly blank for an instant. My milk, my coat, my brain, all turned into a jujube, reborn and returned. I had considered many things, but never that her chastity would matter so much to my cousin, enough to risk her life to preserve it. It is utterly baffling and beyond comprehension why my cousin would act this way. What on earth makes her believe that one's innocence is more important than one's own life? Seeing that my cousin was getting agitated, the medical staff lifted her onto the ambulance. Is this place okay, ma'am? If you don't get this treated soon, your skin will be beyond saving. Still wailing, my cousin managed to squeeze out the words, no, there's glass in the back of your vehicle. It's not private enough. Hearing this, the medical staff shook their heads and said to the driver, get this vehicle to the hospital now. If we wait any longer, it'll be too late. The people around were gossiping. How absurd. She'd rather risk her life than risk exposing herself. Seeing the ambulance about to leave, I quickly followed. Doctor, I'm family. I'm going with my sister. My cousin caused my miserable death in this life. As long as she still has a breath left, my revenge is not over. The doctor gave my cousin a shot of a sedative, and she finally looked much calmer, but she could still speak. Why are you following me? You're the one ruining me. Go die. Given my cousin's tantrum just now. Now everyone in the ambulance is giving her the cold shoulder, seeing me so thoughtfully follow her into the ambulance, only to be treated like this by her. The nurse gives me a sympathetic look. I bury my face in my hands and cry helplessly. I didn't mean to hurt you, cousin. Boo-hoo. I was just helping you pack. How was I supposed to know there'd be a fire? That's bullshit. You never meant well. Look at how badly I'm hurt. When the police investigate, they'll come and lock you up. Your life is over. I had already considered the possibility of an investigation when I blocked the door, but having been given this chance to be reborn, I simply cannot allow myself to be the kind of good person who respects others' fates. If I do anything, I only stir the fate of others. Whoever harms me, I will pay back in full. I blocked the door just to make sure that even if my cousin woke up, she wouldn't be able to escape. As it turned out, I was right to block it. It wasn't an unnecessary move. 9. After hearing my cousin's aggressive words, I sobbed as I raised my phone and dialed 110. Hello, is this the police? I want to turn myself in. Before the fire broke out in XX residential area today, but before I could finish, my cousin knocked the phone out of my hand. I looked at her in shock. She said, I'm not so heartless as to make you carry a criminal record. As long as you act sensibly, I'll consider letting you off. I feigned confusion. What do you mean by act sensibly, cousin? My cousin's gaze locked onto my phone, and she said in a commanding tone, pick it up. First, help me call my boyfriend, I asked cautiously. And what's your boyfriend's number? My cousin hesitated a little. One of the most common delusions of a doting wife, that every other woman covets her troll-like boyfriend. After dialing, I dutifully held the phone to my cousin's ear. Dutiful, because I was genuinely curious how her garbage boyfriend would react in this lifetime, but what followed actually made my brain shrink. My cousin recounted her fright just as she had in the previous life. Baby, I've always remembered what you said. Just now, I almost got burned to death trying to keep myself pure for you, and I didn't let any of them touch me. The man on the other end sounded intensely excited, as if he had found a priceless treasure. Really, baby, a good woman should remain chaste for her man, and you did the right thing. Your husband is coming to the hospital to be with you right now. Fortunately, my cousin wasn't feeling well enough to talk for long. Otherwise, the medical staff and I would have rolled our eyes so hard they'd be stuck, the nurse muttered. What's wrong with this guy? He hears his girlfriend is burned and he's this happy. I nodded like crazy. After finishing, my cousin said to me, once we get to the hospital, you cover all the medical costs, and if you behave well after that, I might consider letting you off the hook. I nodded hurriedly, seeing that I looked completely at her mercy. My cousin closed her eyes with relief. 11. By the time the car arrived at the hospital, my cousin had already started running a fever. Watching my cousin break her own fingernails from the pain, I felt a glimmer of satisfaction. The reason my cousin was still able to talk and move earlier was that the sudden accident had caused a surge of adrenaline, raising her pain threshold and keeping her from feeling too much pain for a short while. Now the true suffering was about to begin. The doctor quickly rushed my cousin into the operating room, but suddenly, a short, middle-aged man rushed over and blocked the gurney. How can there be men? No men allowed. No man can look at my wife's body. That raspy voice, unforgettable after just one hearing, told us it was our cousin's boyfriend who had arrived. Our cousin, who had almost passed out from pain a second ago, sat up again like she'd been injected with adrenaline when she heard the middle-aged man's voice. Listen to my husband. Switch to a female doctor right now. Otherwise I won't have the surgery. Is this the legendary power of love stopping pain? The man put his arm around our cousin, as if protecting a rare treasure, and glared fiercely at the two male doctors. Don't think I don't know what you're up to. You see how pretty my wife is and want to take advantage, right? With that, he kissed our cousin's blister-covered, blood-streaked face. This scene struck everyone present like a bolt of lightning, leaving them utterly stunned. Could they truly be in love? Seeing no way to stop him, the medical staff had to page a female doctor for help. While waiting, the middle-aged man continued his sickly sweet behavior with his cousin. Baby, after your surgery, let's check out of the hospital early. Okay, it's not good for a woman to be out in the world too much. You're mine alone. I'm taking you home and locking you up. His cousin was already speechless, yet she still managed to force a sweet smile for him. As for me, I felt like I was sitting on pins and needles, my skin crawling. I didn't understand it, but I had to respect it. I even gave them my blessing. Please, lock it tight. Forever, to avoid being hurt again by their sudden intimate gestures, I kept my distance, stepping far to the side. The doctor moved quickly, leaving no time for the couple to continue their sweet moments, and my cousin was taken in for surgery. 10. The door to the operating room had just closed. The man suddenly seemed like a completely different person. He dropped all pretense of reluctance and, with disgust, spat at the doorway. Tui, 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 disgusting as hell. How dare she contact me? Looking like a burned mess. After seeing her like this, will I have nightmares tonight? Not satisfied with just spitting, he bought a bottle of water from a vending machine and rinsed his mouth several times. Then he fixed his appearance and took out his phone, start speaking to the camera. You all heard me clearly, right, fam? That woman's whole body is burning up like crazy, but she's still holding on, not letting any other man touch me. All for my sake. That's how much she loves me, I'm sure. You can all see that, right? It's all an act. I don't buy it. Who says it's an act? I'm literally at the hospital right now. The man held up his phone and panned it around the hallway. You heard what the doctor said, right, fam? Severe burns. This woman might not even make it out alive. Ren's charm is still this strong, a role model for us all. How do you make a woman this infatuated with you? The man looked smug and pleased with himself. Just from the question asked by Gentle Breeze, I can tell he's a newbie. This must be your first time in my live stream room, right? Click the blue button at the bottom left, and that's our emotional counseling link. I'm Brother Ren. As long as you purchase enough consultation time, you'll get my customized guidance. What does it look like now after the burn? Let me see. Can't show you. That can't be broadcast. It's too bloody, or my live stream room will get banned. But I can show you what she looked like before the burn. Whoa. A beauty. What a shame, Brother Shin. She's like this now. Shouldn't he just dump her? We want to see that 36D1. Throw us a bone. You know what we mean. The man thought for a moment and said, this case is way too extreme. She doesn't even care about her life. If I put it off any longer, don't rush. Though, tonight I'll take you to meet someone even bigger. The man became more and more animated as he spoke. But since noise is not allowed in the hospital, and live streaming is strictly forbidden, he was quickly escorted out. 11. I searched on online platforms using the name he claimed. After browsing through several video apps, I finally found the man's live stream on some obscure platform. All the videos on his homepage were about teaching men how to have successful relationships. A quick swipe showed one sentence to make a woman utterly devoted to you. Swipe again. Chastity is a woman's best dowry. Women with the following behaviors should be avoided. Those who love milk tea, order Angus thick beef burgers at McDonald's. I unconsciously clenched my fists and added this so-called Brother Ren to my revenge list. If he hadn't brainwashed my cousin with feudal ideology, I wouldn't have died so horribly in my previous life. Besides, in my opinion, he deserves to die. This Brother Ren uses special effects in all his videos and live streams, never showing his real face. Yet he casually reveals women's appearances and private information during his streams. His live streams are more explicit than his videos, broadcasting how he gets along with women daily. To cater to certain men's fetishes, he categorizes, brainwashes, and grooms women. For some, he instructs them to wear sexy clothes and be proactive with men, while also demanding they act like pure maidens and absolutely refrain from premarital sex. I watched a few live stream replays, and I felt so disgusted I nearly threw up. I even saw people in the comments section asking for the video. It's not hard to guess what kind of video they were asking for. I suddenly realized what a fool I'd been. been seeking revenge against the wrong person. The one who truly murdered me must be him, or them. They bind women with chastity, making them value purity more than life itself. Hateful as my cousin was, those who coin terms like purity to constrain women are even more detestable. There aren't many things I can do, but since I've run into someone like Brother Ren, I can't simply let him off the hook. Heaven has given me a second chance, and I ought to rid the people of this scourge. Remembering that he said he'd dump my cousin in a few days sent alarm bells ringing in my head. I can't let him stir up trouble with just a few words like he did in the previous life, making my cousin hold a grudge against me while he slinks away without a care. In that moment, I decided to help my cousin defend her love so she could successfully marry the man she was willing to die for. 12. I registered an account, chose a man's back view as my profile picture, set the name to Lone Wolf Seeking Love, gender to male, and age to 35. After entering the live stream, I commented, "Is your guidance really that powerful?" I'm not convinced. Despite saying he didn't believe it, I sent him 2 sports cars as gifts. Seeing the gifts, the man perked up and immediately used his other phone to make a call. "Hey, why haven't you been calling me lately, you darling? You said before that I was disturbing you when I called, huh? And then, so you just stopped calling me? You don't care about me at all, do you?" I do. I'm sorry, darling." The man hung up, then rather coolly showed the live stream audience that the woman in the chat was frantically sending apology messages, along with even a large transfer of money. I found it so hard to watch that after the first hour of consultation, I greeted him and asked to chat privately in the background. "What are the conditions of your target? I want the contact info of the burn-injured woman you had on your live stream today. What do you want her for? She's in that state. Can't you find someone new, or do you have some kind of fetish? Bro, you seem like an honest guy, so I'll be straight with you, bro. I want to marry that girl. Have you lost your mind? Man, you haven't watched the short videos, have you? That woman is trending. Number 1, sister integrity. What she did, choosing to burn herself for her honor, is extreme. The internet is going crazy over it. This is all traffic and hype. Anyway, you don't want her anymore. Give her to me, in her current situation. It's already good if someone wants her. I'll package her story, say she stayed chase for me, spin some tragic, beautiful love tale. From now on, I'll live stream taking care of her. Bro, just think with your toes and you'll know there will be countless money coming in. Netizens love watching a good show. Marrying her is like marrying a cash cow. 13. The chat fell into a dead silence. I stood by the window, watching the man get up. He pulled out another phone and kept refreshing the trending topics online. My cousin was incredibly lucky. The young man she hit with the object is a local internet celebrity known for his charity work. With 3 million followers, he and his friends usually go through the streets and alleys helping the elderly, have saved children from drowning, and have taken part in flood relief efforts. In short, whenever there's something good to do, they put their lives on the line to get it done. They've been to many dangerous places and, by sheer luck, have never suffered any serious injuries. Well, today of all days, I ended up with a cracked skull trying to save my cousin. They usually wear cameras while making videos, which happened to capture everything that happened inside the fire and during the rescue outside. The young man who scolded my cousin afterward rushed to edit the video and uploaded it to the platform without any cuts. It's already gained over 2 million likes and shot straight to the top of the trending searches. Seeing that the man didn't reply, I sent a message. "Bro, which hospital are you at? Let me come find you. Put in a good word for me, and I'll make it worth your while. Don't leave me on read, okay? How about I give you 30% of the revenue? 50%. 50% works too. Don't ignore me. What's that girl's name? This is paid consulting. If you don't reply, I can report you." 3 minutes later, a message popped up. "Your order has been refunded." The fish bit the hook. Just finished everything at hand, then I saw the doctor walking toward me, followed by my uncle and my mother, who arrived late. The doctor asked, which family member can prepay the fees? The patient's condition is critical, and the subsequent expenses will not be small. You can have some time to raise the money, but not too long. My uncle grabbed me, squeezing my arm until it hurt. "It's your turn to pay. All those packages you piled up caused your sister's accident. You must take full responsibility." 14. I calmly pushed my uncle's hand away and said mysteriously, "Uncle, of course I'm going to pay compensation, don't worry about that, but today's medical expenses shouldn't be paid by our own family. You know what, my sister's boyfriend just came by, and he called her wife. Do you think he gets to say that for free?" My uncle hesitated slightly. "Are you sure that man will pay? Your sister's in that condition, and he still wants her." I patted my uncle on the shoulder. "Don't worry, uncle. My cousin has plenty of charm, just do as I say, and I guarantee someone will be rushing to pay her medical bills." The cousin's surgery took a long time and meanwhile, I kept scrolling through short videos. Soon, I came across the account Leon Boren had just registered, innocent sister's boyfriend. In the recommended section, the persona he created for himself was her long-distance boyfriend. At that point, not knowing where he had found a car, he sat inside it crying in front of the live stream. I Wish I could get to her side right now. How much pain must she be in? Please stop cursing her. Yes, she tends to be extreme, but I love her deeply. Liang really knows how to keep people in suspense. He knows netizens want to see the current situation of Sister Qingbai, so he sets a vague distance, telling everyone he's getting closer but hasn't arrived yet. Those who can't wait will follow him, looking forward to updates. The number of viewers in his live stream is rising rapidly. Gossip. Hungry netizens from all over have flooded into his live stream, waiting for him to reach the hospital. Liang's plan is to drag it out as long as possible, until netizens' patience is at its limit, and only then actually go to the hospital. Just as Liang Boren was marveling at his own cleverness, dissenting voices emerged. What makes you claim to be Sister Qingbai's boyfriend? Do you have any proof? Is this just a clout-chasing hoax? I just saw someone claiming to be Qingbai Jia's boyfriend. They even had a photo. This barrage comment made Liang Boren's pupils contract sharply. 15. In just the past hour, nearly 100 posts had sprung up online like bamboo shoots after the rain, all claiming to be Qingbai Jia's boyfriend, Qingbai Jia's mother, Qingbai Jia's girlfriend. Wherever there's profit, the industry sees plagiarism, content laundering, direct copying, and old wine in new bottles. These people were also weeping and wailing in various live streams, reciting lines almost identical to Liang Boren's. Some tip cars, some tip boats, and others traveled on foot. Actually, I didn't really stir things up much. I just posted in some gambling addict forums and loan shark forums. Brothers, why not ride the wave of this hot favorite? After just half an hour of streaming, I'm already getting out of debt. Image, Liang's live stream room. These forums are full of people who owe money and have incredibly thick skin. As long as you show them where the money is, they'll swarm like dogs smelling meat. And just like that, my cousin, lying in the operating room, suddenly had a harem of 3,000 suitors. Meanwhile, only 3,000 people were left in Liang Boren's live stream room, and all of them were cursing him out. Damned gambling addict, how dare you lie to us? Report, get these scammers banned. This panicked Liang, but he really couldn't produce any evidence. He had been in too many relationships before and generally didn't take couple photos. When he brought out a solo picture of his cousin, others quickly stole it away. Over the next hour, Liang talked until his throat went dry, but no matter how much he tried to explain himself, no one would believe him anymore. Then a bullet comment appeared in the live stream. Everyone, Sister Qingbai really does have a family member. Her father posted a video. 16. I registered an account for my uncle using his real name, Sun Daon. Now the whole internet is calling her innocent Sister XX, ignoring that if she were a real family member, she would find the nickname innocent sister somewhat mocking and insulting. Using a real name directly is far more convincing. A real family member wouldn't have time to exploit the situation for live streaming money, so I only recorded one video in which my uncle calls out those pretending to be the boyfriend's relatives of the daughter. I also provided relevant documents proving he is the cousin's father. My daughter's fate is unknown. Please don't make light of another person's life, as expected, to prove he was the boyfriend. Liang Boren returned to the hospital. By then, my cousin had already finished surgery and been moved to the intensive care unit, where visits are not allowed for a week. When Liang arrived, his uncle was talking to someone who was urging him to pay the surgery fees. As soon as Liang saw his uncle, he greeted him warmly. Uncle, I'm Bebe's boyfriend, Liang Boren. I never expected our first meeting to be under such circumstances. His eyes reddened, and he shed a few tears as he looked at his uncle with deep emotion, but his uncle's expression remained cold. He didn't even cast a glance his way, acting as if Liang were invisible. Liang repeated himself, yet his uncle still ignored him. This time, Liang was somewhat annoyed. Uncle, what do you mean by this? Upon hearing this accusation, the uncle turned and slapped Liang Boren hard across the face. What do you mean by that? You damned swindler, you have working limbs. So why pretend to be someone else's boyfriend to cheat people out of money? And you dare show up at the hospital, trying to fool me. Get out of my sight now. The hospital was crowded, and people gathered around when they heard the commotion. Everyone was aware of the frequent fake boyfriends found online, so they all started pointing at Liang. Her daughter hasn't even gotten out of danger yet, and here he is trying to scam money. Shameless liar. With a face like that, you can tell he's no good. Someone even raised a phone to film and shouted, just wait. I'll post this online and make sure everyone remembers what a scumbag you are. Isn't making a fuss online enough? Now you've come to the hospital. This is going too far. 17. Liang was on the verge of losing his mind with anxiety if he didn't get his uncle's approval now, and those people posted videos online calling him a fraud again, then his live streaming career would be finished. By the time his cousin could cooperate with him on a live stream, it would be too late for him to ride the wave of popularity to buid up a new account, even though he was hardly any different from a con artist on a normal day. But the matter of his being his cousin's boyfriend was one of the few real things about him. Being wrongfully accused was painful enough, especially after he had been cursed at for an entire afternoon. Now, a crowd was insulting him to his face, and some had even surrounded him, looking ready to throw a punch. Leon nervously waved his hands. I really am her boyfriend. I'm telling the truth. Please, let me explain. Hearing Leon say that, the uncle grabbed him by the collar. You lying con man, not only do you try to scam us, but you dare slander my daughter. I'll beat you, you rotten swindler. With that, a fist slammed into Liang's face. Seeing stars, Leon tried to defend himself. I'm not trying to cheat you out of your money. I really am not. His uncle's face turned red with rage. How dare you talk back? If you're not here to swindle us, then what did you come to give us? Money. The debt collector saw that a fight had broken out. Hey, stop fighting. You haven't paid for the surgery yet. How are you going to handle it if you break more things? Leon looked at his furious uncle and the crowd that was already preparing to pick him up and throw him out, as anxious as an ant on a hot pan. How to prove it? How to prove it? How to make people believe you? The uncle cursed again. Out with it. Did you come here to hand out money? At that moment, Liang's ren and do meridians were unblocked. He grabbed his uncle's hand. Uncle, that's exactly why I'm here, to give you money. Everyone, including the uncle, was dumbfounded. 18 and watching the embarrassed and deflated looks on everyone who had been proven wrong, Liang even felt a sense of relief. The uncle ventured to ask, are you really Bebe's boyfriend? Liang straightened his disheveled clothes and said plaintively, Uncle, it's absolutely true. I came here wanting to help, but I never expected to get beaten up as soon as I arrived. Among the crowd, don't let him fool you. Until the money is actually paid, I won't believe a word of it. Someone chimed in, right. Only when the money is really handed over will we believe you. And so, surrounded by the crowd, Leon Boren made his way all the way to the payment desk. Leon had intended to pay a portion himself to silence the gossip, and let his uncle cover the rest, but unexpectedly, his uncle simply stepped aside. The uncle then bragged to the newly arrived onlookers, take a look, everyone, my daughter's real boyfriend is here. I'm old and useless, and I can't come up with the money to save my daughter. Luckily, my daughter has a great boyfriend. He said he would cover all of my daughter's medical expenses. Everyone exclaimed in admiration. Oh my, there aren't many good people like this anymore. What a real man, so responsible, and so Leon was put on such a pedestal that he couldn't back out or slip away, with cameras all pointed at his back. He had no choice but to steel himself and say to the payment counter, hello, I'd like to pay Sun Bebe's fees. After paying, Liang's face was as grim as if he had lost his own mother. Everyone apologized again. You really paid up, so it must be true. Oh gosh, I almost made a fool of myself. I wronged you, young man. Don't blame everyone else either. We just really hate those who chase internet clout. The uncle took Liang's hand in front of everyone. From now on, Bebe is in your hands. I can rest easy. 19. After watching Leon pay the money, I sent off the few friends who had come to help speak up. The scheme I set up today is just like the one in Let the Bullets Fly, where they forced Six to cut his stomach open to prove the contents were from rice noodles. It uses the logic trap of self-justification, which is a type of psychological control technique. I had my uncle take the superior position and interrogate Leon Boren, forcing Leon to offer up the money just to prove he wasn't trying to scam anyone. He also used public opinion to pressure Leon, forcing him to pay up in order to keep the audience traffic he desperately wanted. Everything fell into place. Leon paid several $100,000 and successfully got his uncle's account to verify him as her boyfriend, but due to the afternoon's chaos, the platform banned a number of accounts, and White Sister's online buzz gradually died down. Trying to reignite the heat, Liang accidentally leaked other extreme remarks his cousin made during their chats. When I see women in clothes that show their bellies and thighs, I feel disgusted. Don't they have any sense of decency? I'm nothing like them. With these words, the topic blew up again. It also steered public opinion off track. Originally, the discussion was about whether such extreme defense of one's chastity was right, but now it has shifted to the freedom of dressing. The internet is in an uproar. She's just traditional in her thinking. Is that wrong? How is she not wrong? Didn't she attack someone with a hot object? If she hadn't been burned herself, she'd definitely be in jail, a relic of the Qing dynasty. Are there any more girls like her? I like her. She's nothing like those flashy, cheap-looking types nowadays. The internet has always been a giant melting pot, where even the accomplices who indirectly lead to someone's death have fans. So naturally, a cousin like the one described, someone who preserves her purity in line with certain group's expectations of women, has her supporters too. Leon Boren's popularity keeps rising. He has started live streaming, telling the story of his romance with his cousin, how she is deeply devoted to him, and how he takes careful care of her. He also had solid skills, and soon he managed to turn a group of people into fans of the couple pairing between him and his cousin. They just love too much. What's wrong with that? In modern society, is it also wrong to love someone with all your might? With your unwavering loyalty, brother, you deserve a woman who remains faithful only to you. 20. Soon 3 months passed. During this time, using memories from my past life, I made some small investments and kept busy making money. I sent my mother on a trip. Liangze, riding on his cousin's popularity, made a fortune. The uncle also lived an extremely comfortable life with the money Liang gave him. Everyone had entered a new phase of life. Only the cousin was trapped in the hospital, mired in endless suffering. Over the past few months, due to the effect of the dry powder on her wounds would heal and then split open again, constantly causing repeated torment. Even with the advancement of modern medical technology, the pain exceeded the limits of human endurance many times. The pain caused her to lose consciousness. Later, she underwent skin grafting, and after the procedure, her wounds gradually healed. Yet the itching during the healing process felt like tens of thousands of ants crawling on her body, driving her nearly mad with anguish. I have also experienced this kind of itch, and back then I just wanted to knock myself out and end it as soon as possible. But my cousin had several times more wounds than I did, and the pain she was enduring at that moment was something I didn't even dare to imagine. However, my cousin was discharged from the hospital early soon after. Liang Biren couldn't wait for her to continue treatment, because everyone had grown tired of Liang telling love stories on his own. Liang needed a new sensational point, so he made his cousin, with her still unhealed body, wear an improper wedding dress and marry him in a live broadcast to the whole internet. 21. At the wedding scene, I looked at my cousin's face, covered with hideous scars, and smelled the stench that no amount of perfume could mask. I couldn't help but sigh. My cousin used to be very vain. She rarely even went out without makeup. Now she has to show such a face to the entire online audience in a live stream. Many burn victims, even after long-term psychological treatment, still cannot accept their post-burn appearance. Everyone was buzzing with comments. Why would she show up like that? She could at least put on some makeup. Why not even a bit? That was Liang Boren's idea. He advocates for naturalness, saying that only ugly women wear makeup, and forced my cousin to have a makeup-free wedding. My wife is already beautiful enough. Those cosmetics would only ruin her elegance. This kind of talk might fool my cousin, but I think he's doing it just to grab attention. If my cousin gets married looking picture perfect, how would that be any different from an ordinary wedding? To attract attention, you need to highlight her humiliation. The more wretched my cousin appears, the greater it makes Liang Boren, who marries her, seem by comparison. My cousin's scar is like Liang's medal. In truth, my cousin's face could be repaired with skin grafts, restoring it to its original state would be impossible, but it certainly wouldn't have to be as horrifying as it was at the wedding. But Leon doesn't want that. In his eyes, the scar is the traffic. If the scar were removed, people scrolling through the live stream wouldn't recognize who she is anymore. The public's memory is poor. Only distinctive people can be remembered for long and ugly, scarred face. One look at it is enough to remind everyone that she is the famous Sister Qingbai. I know my cousin really wants to get facial reconstruction surgery. Leon Biren coaxed her. Baby, this scar is the mark of our great love. You sure you want to get rid of it? You're already so beautiful that I live in fear every day of some other man taking you away. This scar gives me a sense of security. 22. I don't know if Leon feels secure, but what he gives my cousin is definitely insecurity. I ran into her on the road once. She was cowering as if she were a thief. On a sweltering hot day, she kept her mask on until sweat poured down her face. Finally, she couldn't help but take it off to get some air, which scared a passing child into tears. Because her many wounds are prone to inflammation and infection, she always carries a foul, unpleasant smell. Ordinary people can't help but keep their distance from her. My cousin once invited me to her home to show off how well Leon treated her, and I noticed there wasn't a single mirror in her house. It was clear that my cousin was afraid to see what she had become for the sake of so-called love. She forced herself every day to go along with Leon Boren's live streams. Meanwhile, Leon had already distanced himself from the public criticism, and is now praised by everyone as a devoted and responsible man. Everyone speaks well of him, truly responsible, what a good man. Most of the people flooding the live stream are still cursing my cousin. Is this bruised face worth it? Sister Qingbai, why are you seeing a doctor? When you give birth, you must do it at home. Don't go out and be seen by anyone. Can you please stop live streaming? It's terrifying. Netizens have no idea what their casual words leave in my cousin's heart. I knew my cousin wasn't doing well, so I even helped introduce her to a psychologist. The doctor said, actually, deep down, your cousin already regrets it, but she can't mentally accept the truth of her own regret, because even if she regrets it, she can't change the current situation. If she doesn't admit her regret, she still has what she believes is a noble love. If she admits regret, she'll have nothing left, so she can only stubbornly brainwash herself into believing that enduring all this pain for love is worth it. The consequence of this is that her expectations for love will become higher. After all, she has already sacrificed so much for love, and she also hopes that the other party will sacrifice for love to achieve a spiritual balance. The conclusion is that my cousin's teetering mental state is entirely sustained by that man's love. If one day my cousin realizes that the man's precious love never existed at all, how will she react? 23. I patiently followed my cousin's live stream, watching her eyes grow dimmer day by day, her face ashen every single day. My cousin didn't want to talk, so the man, to avoid an awkward silence, would tell the fans what the pus oozing from my cousin's wound looked like, how foul the wound smelled, how inconvenient it was for her to use the bathroom, and so on. He recounted everything in exhaustive detail. Sometimes when he was in the mood, he would lift his cousin's clothes to show everyone the scar on her belly. When she resisted, he would say, "Oh, what's the harm in showing everyone? It's just her stomach. Don't be so narrow-minded. No one in this world wants to expose their vulnerable side to others, especially not his cousin, who had always been fiercely competitive." Sometimes, during a live stream, his cousin would suddenly walk away, and then the man's expression would change as he turned off the stream. After turning off the stream, the two would start arguing. "I told you I don't want to live stream. Why do you insist on doing it? Do you even love me or not? Baby, aren't I doing live streams so I can have more money and income to take better care of you? How can you say that to me? Do we need a better income? No, we don't. Can't you love me and stay with me through thick and thin? Why do we have to have a good life? I've already sacrificed so much for you. How can you call that a sacrifice for me? That was your own decision, but you said a woman whose body has been seen by others as a dirty woman. To seize the right moment for my final revenge, I left a hidden pinhole camera at my cousin's place. I watched my cousin, who was always so submissive to Liang, argue with him more and more often. One night, things even got physical. Watching my cousin lying motionless on the floor after being beaten, I felt a mix of emotions I couldn't quite put into words. After that night, Liang's live stream saw another small surge in popularity because his cousin's wound tore open again, and she was back in the hospital. During the live stream, Liang claimed that his cousin had insisted on stir-frying with him, and that's how the wound accidentally tore. Liang's streams have become increasingly lacking in any bottom line. His cousin seems like a toy he uses to show off, yet one that disgusts him. After being discharged this time, his cousin began to spiral into hysterical outbursts. The doctor also notified me, telling me to keep a close eye on my cousin's condition, as she had shown signs of self-destructive tendencies during counseling. Her injuries have made her even more sensitive, and now there is no one else left in her life. Her eyes are fixed entirely on Liang, seeking his meticulous affection to prop up her inner self. What does a person do when they cannot attain what they seek? 24. Seeing that the time has come, it is time to put an end to this farce once and for all. Early that morning, my cousin received a court summons. My cousin was being sued. She was sued by the person who was injured by falling debris in the fire scene, on charges of intentional injury. Holding the summons, my cousin's body went limp, and she collapsed directly onto the floor. The crime of intentional injury carries a prison sentence. Given the state my cousin is in right now, sending her to prison would be as good as killing her outright. My cousin stormed into the bedroom and argued with Liang, because Liang had previously promised that he would handle this matter for her. My cousin confronted Liang. "You've been deliberately dragging this out for the sake of views, just waiting for them to sue me so you can milk another wave of hype, right?" Seeing through him like that, Liang simply coaxed my cousin out of the room. Liang was already annoyed, and now he had even less time to deal with her, because that day, every girlfriend he had ever been with came forward to expose him. All the videos and live streams he previously posted on small websites have also been fully exposed. By then he was no longer the minor streamer he used to be, and those explosive pieces of content instantly shot to the top of the trending searches. His true colors were finally revealed to the world. The internet was flooded with criticism. Back when his cousin was being attacked online, he made money off it, but when it was his turn to face the backlash, he didn't dare to go live, seeing that Liang was unreliable. His cousin took out her phone to search for how many years in prison such a crime might carry, but her phone immediately displayed news related to her. She tapped to open it. It was a clip from the man's live stream on the day of the fire. "Guys, don't even mention it. Scared me to death. One more look and I'd have nightmares. Seeing her like that, she'd be better off dead than healed. Ugly woman. Just an eyesore alive." I watched my cousin sit on the sofa, holding her phone in the same position for hours. 25. Then I heard a knock at the door. I saw my cousin slowly stand up from the sofa and opened the door. My uncle stormed in, furious, barged straight into the bedroom, and dragged out Liang Buren, who was still smoking. "You black-hearted bastard. I was blind to marry my daughter to you. You're a monster." Liang grabbed his uncle and shoved him hard. "I'm the black-hearted one. Your daughter's no prize either. If I hadn't taken her off your hands, who else would marry her? So don't you dare act like I've wronged her." The uncle's face turned bright red. "If my daughter's No prize. Why were you so eager to marry her? How much money have you made off her? You think I'm stupid. You treat her badly. I'm taking my daughter with me today. Stop playing the loving father. When I hit her, why didn't you offer to take her away then? You just see the chance to cash in for yourself now, don't you? The cousin stood there expressionless, watching the two men who didn't love her argue themselves red in the face over her. Then she went into the kitchen and came back out, carrying 2 glasses of water. After she came out, the two of them calmed down and stopped arguing. Leon Boren looked tenderly at his female cousin. Baby, I've got an idea. Could you go live online and explain that I'm teaching people how to date? Just tell everyone that I'm doing all this to earn money to marry you, and that you encouraged me to do it. What a brilliantly calculated move, shifting all the blame onto his cousin, no matter how despicable his actions, as long as he claims they were for her happy life, he'd be innocent. Everyone would only blame her for coveting wealth and status. The uncle also tried to persuade her. Bebe, your reputation isn't great anyway. When lice are many, the bites don't feel as bad. Just help Xiaoying explain. He's a man, and his career matters more. In the future, when he goes out to earn money, you can just stay home and live your own quiet life. 26 earlier. When the cousin left for the kitchen, the uncle spoke bluntly. He came to ask for money. As long as Liang gave him the money, Liang could do whatever he wanted with her cousin, but Liang said he had no money left. The money he had earned recently had just filled the gap left by previous medical expenses, so the two of them discussed it and came to an agreement. Let the cousin take the fall for Liang's public opinion crisis today, help clear Liang's name, so that Liang could continue live streaming to earn money. The uncle and Liang had already worked out the share of future live stream earnings. The uncle was even planning to appear in person to apologize, saying he had failed to teach his daughter properly and had raised her to be a gold digger, which had driven Liang to take shady paths to make money. Both of them planned to keep trampling the cousin further into the dust, and the cousin, she agreed. Dad, honey, both of you have some water. I'll explain everything clearly to everyone on the live stream in a bit. The two of them argued and schemed at the same time. They were indeed feeling parched at that moment, so they drank without thinking. After a while longer, for the first time, the cousin took the initiative to bring out a tripod, set up her phone, adjusted the camera, and aimed it at herself. It was also the first time she personally clicked the button to start the live stream. As soon as it started, a large number of netizens flooded into the live stream room, with viewer numbers soaring to 1 million. Plot twist, your big sister is the victim here. Liang, sitting next to her, saw the public opinion and wanted to urge his cousin to explain, but found his tongue twisted and he couldn't speak. He turned his eyes to his uncle, only to see him looking back just as helplessly. Both of them felt weak all over and unable to move. Facing the camera, the cousin tidied her hair, stood up, and took a few steps back. When she saw that the camera was capturing her half body, she bent deeply at the waist and bowed to the camera. After straightening up, she said, "Today, I want to apologize to all the women. I'm sorry, everyone. As a woman, I have done things that backstabbed other women. I also want to apologize to everyone who tried to save me before. I'm sorry. You did the right thing and shouldn't have been treated that way. Now I regret it. I was terribly wrong. I sacrificed my health just to gain recognition from men. I have paid a heavy price. So please don't follow my example. Finally, I hope everyone truly loves themselves." 27. After saying love themselves, my cousin ended the live stream with a smile. As the two of them looked on in confusion, my cousin pulled a fruit knife out from under the coffee table. She walked slowly up to my uncle and placed the blade against his throat. My cousin muttered to herself, "Dad, I never understood why Mom kept waiting for you all those years, but in the end, I've become just like her. I've chosen a lousy man just as you were. I don't know who to blame for how I am today. Should I blame you for never loving me, so that I'm so starved for affection I fall for any man, or should I blame myself for being so stupid? Forget it, forget it. I can't figure out the reason anymore, and I don't want to." With that, she drove the knife into my uncle's throat, and blood splattered everywhere. I saw my uncle's body tremble once, then lie still. Then my cousin walked over to the man, and there was already a yellow puddle beneath where he sat. His eyes were full of pleading. My cousin reached out a finger and stroked the man's face. "Don't be afraid. I won't kill you." My cousin brought a bucket of oil and poured it over the man's head. The way my cousin poured the oil was elegant. I even sensed a hint of artistry in it. The man's features struggled beneath the oil, as if he would suffocate at any moment. Then my cousin took out a lighter and tossed it directly onto the man. The raging fire ignited instantly. Writhing in agony, the man regained his ability to move and tumbled to the ground, convulsing. Meanwhile, his cousin dialed the fire department and calmly gave the address. After hanging up, she walked into the bedroom and set the curtains and bedsheets on fire. Surrounded by flames, she removed her clothes, lay naked on the bed, and fell into a deep sleep. At that moment, the grudge between my cousin and me came to a complete end. Extra, thanks to the timely fire rescue, Liang Boren was saved from the blaze. A kind-hearted person paid for Liang's medical expenses. Liang's condition was too severe. Even if healed, he would be paralyzed for life, but luckily for him, he met a kind girl. That girl helped him, allowing him to continue doing what he loved most, his live streaming career. Every day, countless netizens watched in front of their screens as Leon lost control of his bodily functions, as maggots crawled out of the wounds on his back, and discussed how well cooked his flesh was. The girl turned up the volume of the live stream chat and set it right above Liang's head. Every day, as soon as Leon opened his eyes, he could see the comments from countless netizens. The girl also gave Liang a mirrored room where he lived and could admire his twisted, terrifyingly handsome face from every angle 360 degrees a day. Liang lived a joyful life that he wouldn't have dared to dream of. The end. Story 2. My deskmate, as placid as a chrysanthemum, urged me to surrender the sole competition spot to an underachieving student who never studied, sugarcoating it as giving them a chance. During the school's scholarship selection, they insisted on choosing the wealthy heir who lacked for nothing. On the eve of the college entrance exams, they freely handed over 3 years' worth of meticulously compiled notes, yet everything they so readily gave away was rightfully mine. Faced with my questioning, she expressed disappointment, saying I was too opportunistic. She even posted about me online, leading to a cyberbullying storm that destroyed me, yet she was praised as a kind-hearted beauty, while I, your father, was reborn in one. As I groggily opened my eyes, I saw my deskmate Sarah, the one everyone called a kind-hearted beauty, frowning at me. Opal, did you understand what I just told you? Sarah sighed and grabbed my hand. You already have plenty of awards, one more won't make a difference. Besides, your grades are excellent anyway. Why not give this opportunity to Sean? He's trying to improve himself, and his classmates. We should support him and let him have this chance. Don't sign up for this competition. Go tell the homeroom teacher later that you're withdrawing voluntarily. I stared at Sarah and yanked my hand back. Are you out of your mind? Seeing the stunned look on Sarah's face filled me with smug satisfaction. I've been wanting to say that for a lifetime. Our school is offering a competition opportunity where the winner gets early recognition from China's top universities, Peking and Tsinghua. It's the dream chance countless students yearn for. In my previous life, I earned this opportunity, but Sean, the class slacker who never studied, latched onto me, claiming he wanted to give it a shot too. I secured this chance by topping the academic rankings for 3 consecutive years. There was no way I was giving it up. To my surprise, my seemingly serene deskmate found out and went all out to persuade me to abandon the opportunity, accusing me of being overly ambitious. In my past life, I refused to give up too. But Sarah used my supposed selfishness as an excuse to turn the whole class against me. In the end, I never made it there. Some idiots that Sarah had stirred up threw cold water on me and locked me in the bathroom overnight. I ended up with a fever and missed the exam. For someone from a poor family like me, being able to start school early with a scholarship and then having a few months free to work and earn living expenses was incredibly important, and Sarah ruined it all. Her so-called unassuming as a chrysanthemum persona actually comes at the expense of others' interests, all to burnish her own reputation. Impossible. I suddenly stood up, the sound of my movement drawing the attention of nearby classmates. Sarah looked somewhat embarrassed. Opal, what are you doing? I don't understand what you mean. Why are you insisting I give up my competition opportunity? I stared straight at Sarah, pointing at Sean who was avoiding our gaze in the corner. This competition guarantees direct admission without taking anyone's spot. You know perfectly well how much better my grades are than Sean's, yet you want me to hand the opportunity to him just so he can waste it. I'd like to ask why. I looked at her mockingly. Are you that eager to see me take the college entrance exam with everyone else, competing for admission spots? Wouldn't it be better to have one less competitor for the other students? How can you be so selfish without considering your classmates? Everyone in our group had excellent grades except for Sarah, with just 3 months left until the college entrance exams. We were all studying like crazy, desperate to squeeze out every possible point. After what I said, the other students started looking at Sarah with envy in their eyes. The reason was simple. I consistently outperformed the second-ranked student by over 30 points. Everyone knew that if I competed, I was guaranteed to win an award. I just wanted to give Owen a chance too, under everyone's gaze. Sarah's voice trembled with hurt. How could you say that? You're being completely unreasonable. Knowing Sarah all too well, I cut in before her tears could start falling. Oh, you're not unreasonable. You're just so kind. Then why didn't you lend your spare dance shoes to Dana from class 6 when hers went missing before the arts exam? Suddenly it clicked. I get it now. That school only accepts 30 students nationwide, and you're trying to eliminate a competitor this way, aren't you? I shook my head. Sarah, you're so selfish. I simply can't sit next to someone as centered as you. With that, I swiftly gathered my backpack and desk, moving the desk to a spot against the wall. It was a clear statement. I was drawing a line between Sarah and myself. The incident about Sarah refusing to lend her shoes had already spread like wildfire after Dana returned from the exam. It was only out of respect for her previously good reputation that no one made a big deal out of it. But when connected with today's events, the whole situation takes on a different light. Pretending not to notice the stares following me, I'm determined not only to make up for my past regrets by taking the college entrance exams in this lifetime, I'll tear off Sarah's pretty mask one day too. In my past life, I missed out on the competition and poured all my energy into the college entrance exams, with my father gone early and my mother's new husband refusing to pay for my education. I survived on just 300 yuan my mother secretly gave me each month plus my scholarship money. Sarah demanded I withdraw from the competition, give up my scholarship, and hand over my 3 years' worth of knowledge-filled notebooks for free. She even insisted I marry a homeless man near our school, claiming he needed care since he had no one else, and wouldn't you know it, she said we were a perfect match because I'm so good at taking care of people. As for a dowry, she called it a feudal relic, promised me away in marriage early on, and basically gave me away for free. After my furious rejection, she falsely accused me of being overly materialistic and even declared she would never marry without $1 million dowry. In her online blog, she claimed she had urged me to broaden my horizons to no avail, asserting that I didn't qualify as a modern progressive woman. She also preached about embracing a life free from fame and wealth, warning against single-minded pursuit of success. These remarks went viral, and just before my college entrance exams, radical internet users tracked down my address and stabbed me to death in a frenzied attack. I took a deep breath, the pain still lingering around me. Opal, what's wrong with you today? When I came to my senses, Sarah stood before me, biting her lower lip with a delicate, pitiful expression. You're acting so strange today, saying things like that will make many classmates misunderstand me. Which part of what I said was wrong? I waved the competition list in front of her, and sure enough, caught a fleeting glimpse of displeasure in Sarah's eyes. I later found out that Sarah had always resented me because, despite coming from a less privileged family and being less attractive than her, I outperformed her academically and had even been approached by the school heartthrob for help. Those seemingly casual words of advice were nothing but her jealousy-fueled revenge. Since you're so kind-hearted and generous, I recall Sean still hasn't paid for his study materials. Why don't you cover the cost for him? After all, he can't attend classes without the materials. Helping classmates improve their scores as much as possible is exactly the kind of good deed you should be doing. After saying this, I left immediately, making sure to inform our homeroom teacher in the office about Sarah demanding that I give up my competition spot. Our homeroom teacher was determined for me to achieve a good ranking. Upon hearing this, she publicly reprimanded Sarah during the class meeting that same day, saying she spoke without thinking and acted brainlessly. She also pointed out that if Sarah was so concerned about helping classmates, why didn't she bring her private tutor to school to give extra lessons to everyone? Sarah didn't have the nerve to talk back to the homeroom teacher, so she just stood there with red-rimmed eyes, looking utterly wronged. After that day, Sarah did behave herself in class for a while, but knowing her, I was sure she wouldn't let it go. Sure enough, it wasn't long before the school's scholarship competition rolled around. In the past, with my certificate of financial hardship and top grades, I'd always been the shoe-in for the scholarship. This scholarship, a generous 5,000 yuan donation from an alumnus who graduated years ago, was specifically intended to support financially struggling students. I had calculated that with this 5,000 yuan, I wouldn't have to worry about living expenses and study materials for the foreseeable future. But Sarah, trying to curry favor with a wealthy heir, whose privileges were temporarily revoked after some misconduct, leaving him unable to buy designer sneakers, kept brainwashing me, insisting that I should earn the money through my own efforts instead of passively waiting for handouts. Looking back at my past life, I feel somewhat ashamed. I actually believe such actions were a profound disgrace. Now that I think about it, my mind must have been completely muddled back then. Before the morning exercises, I noticed Sarah glancing in my direction from time to time. Almost imperceptibly, I pretended to be completely unaware until after the exercises, when I opened my drawer and was utterly shocked. Where is my poverty certificate? This is the most crucial document for my scholarship application this time. 3. Hearing this, the nearby classmates immediately gathered around. Don't worry, maybe you put it somewhere else. The teacher should have a copy. If you can't find it, you could always ask the teacher for help. Yes, I'm going to see the teacher right now. The moment Sarah heard this, she immediately stood up. Opal, could you step outside for a moment? I need to talk to you. What can't be said here? I knew exactly what she was about to say, yet I furrowed my brow. I'm in a hurry to find something right now. If it's not urgent, let's talk later. I really do have something urgent. In her panic, Sarah actually grabbed me by the wrist and practically dragged me out. When we reached the stairwell corner, I rubbed my reddened wrist where she'd grabbed me, feeling Irritated, what was that for? Could you let someone else have the scholarship this time? You want me to step aside again? I feigned surprise. Why should I? Opal, there's something I've been meaning to tell you for a while now. Sarah looked at me with righteous indignation. You're a capable person with your own two hands. Why do you always rely on school handouts? The cafeteria hires part-time workers. You could work there during lunch breaks. Or you could eat less and fill up on the free soup. If you keep accepting charity without a second thought, you'll end up becoming a drain on society after graduation. Besides, even a thirsty swallow wouldn't drink from puddles on the ground. How can you have no shame doing this? Are you done, Sarah? I looked her up and down. My things just went missing, and now you're here telling me to give up. Don't tell me you're the one who stole my poverty certificate. What nonsense are you talking about? Sarah was clearly guilty. I let out a cold laugh. Sarah, it's easy for you to talk. We're in our final year of high school, every second counts, and you're suggesting I take on a part-time job. Are you that threatened by the possibility of me doing well on the exams? Seeing Sarah about to speak again, my face was filled with disappointment. Sarah, I'm not accepting this donation because I feel entitled to it. I need this money to continue my education. 5,000 yuan might just be a handbag or a pair of shoes to you. But to me, it's my lifeline, my hope for survival. Of course, someone like you would never understand. Shaking my head in dismay, I turned and rushed outside, only to lock eyes with a group of classmates who had followed me. I pretended to have just noticed their eavesdropping, sniffled, and hurried into the classroom. Why is Sarah acting like this? What does someone else getting a scholarship have to do with her? It's not like she needs the money. Exactly. I could tell last time. Sarah just can't stand to see others succeed. I wonder what Opal did to upset her. You don't think she actually took Opal's financial aid documents, do you? As she listened to the hushed whispers of her classmates, Sarah's fair face flushed bright red. No, it has nothing to do with me. Opal is just talking nonsense. Why don't we just check and see for ourselves? One of the female classmates snorted coldly and suddenly dashed toward the classroom. The girl charged over to Sarah's desk and yanked her backpack off. A jumble of items scattered across the floor, including my torn-up financial aid application for, my God, Sarah, how did my financial aid form end up with you? Don't tell me. It suddenly dawned on me, when you asked me to give up the scholarship earlier, is it because your family's facing some financial difficulties and needs the money? But no matter how urgently you need money, this isn't the right way to go about it. We could compete fairly, don't you think? Sarah shot me a vicious glare when no one was looking, her face, contorted with rage, bore no trace of the quiet elegance she usually projected. She looked like a she-monkey revealing her true nature. Why don't we just check the surveillance footage to see if she took it, coming here to study and then trying to guilt-trip others? Actually, some people had long been dissatisfied with Sarah's self-serving behavior. It was only after my open defiance that they started voicing their grievances one after another. When she heard it had escalated to involving the principal, Sarah finally panicked. I'm sorry, Opal, I really need this scholarship for personal reasons, and I made a terrible mistake. Please don't be angry with me. I promise I'll never do anything like this again. Will you give me another chance? Seeing the fury flashing in Sarah's eyes, I gave an understanding nod and gently patted the back of her hand. Sarah, taking something without permission is stealing. If you're willing to cut corners to get what you want now, what will become of you when you enter the real world? As the murmurs of agreement spread among our classmates, Sarah struggled to maintain her composure. Not until the class bell rang did all the students return to their seats. I settled in comfortably and once again pulled out a poverty verification form from between the pages of my textbook. Out of the corner of her eye, Sarah caught sight of the poverty verification form, and her eyes widened in an instant. Meanwhile, I was absolutely thrilled inside. Sarah had previously promised Owen, the rich kid, that she would definitely give him that pair of sneakers. Sarah was too cheap to pay her own way and thought she could put the burden on me. What a pipe dream. Right after class, I submitted my financial hardship documents and came out to see Sarah glaring at me with pure hatred. Sarah blocked my path, clenching her jaw tightly. Opal, you did that on purpose. What do you mean, on purpose? I raised my voice. Sarah, what's really going on that you need this money so badly? I just spoke with our homeroom teacher, and there's no mention of any family emergency. Or are you actually trying to get it for someone else? I couldn't have been more sincere. If that's the case, then that student needs to come talk to the teacher themselves. I know you're the type to do good deeds without taking credit, but whoever you're advocating for should at least thank you in person. Sarah looked like she'd just bitten into something rotten. How could she possibly dare to approach Owen about this? If people found out that the little rich boy was targeting a poor student just because he couldn't afford shoes, they'd laugh their heads off. Sarah glared at me with resentment, then suddenly reverted to her usual gentle demeanor. Her change of expression was truly breathtaking. Opal, I think you must have misunderstood, but since I see you've already submitted the list, I'm still happy for you. Sarah smiled and said, I wanted to apologize for what happened earlier, and also, I'm Having a birthday party this weekend and would like to invite you to come. Attending events means having to give gifts and waste time. I used to avoid such things whenever possible. Time and money are especially precious when you come from a poor family, but when Sarah invited me this time, I agreed without hesitation. Don't worry, I'll definitely be there. Not only will I go, but I'll also bring Sarah a generous gift. 5. Sarah seemed surprised by my immediate agreement, but she nodded and left. Anyway, when the weekend came, I followed the address Sarah had given me. I'd heard before that Sarah's parents were constantly busy with work and never had time to look after her, yet they doted on their daughter, granting her nearly every wish. But when these wonderful parents learned their daughter had incited a cyberbullying campaign that led to someone's death, their first instinct was to hire trolls to smear me even more relentlessly online. They were desperate to paint me as the villain who deserved to die, terrified that netizens might eventually see through their lies and implicate their precious daughter. Sarah is despicable, and her so-called wonderful parents are no better. Before arriving at Sarah's house, I circled the neighborhood first. Just as expected, I spotted Luke in his delivery uniform, hiding in the bushes. In my past life, this very man loafed around all day, lurking near the school, leering at pretty high school girls and spewing vulgar remarks, yet Sarah mistook him for someone genuinely seeking a life partner and went as far as giving him my name. The memory of being harassed by Luke in my previous life makes my stomach churn. I already knew exactly why they showed up here all dressed up today. Sarah is clearly pulling out all the stops to ruin me. By the time I walked in, quite a few classmates had already arrived. Even though many couldn't stand Sarah's two-faced behavior, they still accepted her invitation out of respect for 3 years of shared classes. As soon as she saw me, Sarah came over warmly and introduced me to her parents. It was clear Sarah's parents had heard quite a bit about me from her. They wore strained smiles, but couldn't hide the disdain in their eyes. After exchanging a few polite words, they pulled Sarah away. Whatever. It's not like I live my life trying to please them anyway. The birthday party kicked off with Sarah in a gorgeous princess dress. After saying a few words on stage, she encouraged everyone to have a great time. She mentioned it was our last chance to unwind before the college entrance exams, and many applauded her thoughtful remarks. From the moment I arrived, I avoided eating or drinking anything, worried that something might have been slipped into the food. Even so, Sarah still managed to find me. Opal, are you still upset about what happened earlier? Sarah sighed. I know I was in the wrong, and I don't want you to keep feeling bad about it. By the way, I noticed you haven't eaten anything since you got here. Is the food not to your liking? No, it's just that I've already eaten too much today. My half-hearted excuse didn't fool Sarah at all. She said she'd ordered takeout for me but suddenly had something urgent to attend to, so she asked if I could go pick it up for her. I looked at her with a wry smile. This Sarah really thought I was a fool. Even so, I agreed to it. Just around the corner, I saw Sarah's mother coming out of the restroom and immediately went up to her. 10 minutes later, I strolled back leisurely. Sarah's expression changed when she saw me, and she became somewhat distracted while talking to the person next to her. Soon, she took a couple of steps toward me. Opal, didn't I ask you to pick up the takeout? How come you're back so soon? It's just grabbing some takeout. How long could that possibly take? I shrugged. Anyway, I've got things to do, so I'm heading out. You guys have fun. No, you're not going anywhere. 6. Sarah instinctively grabbed my arm, her voice sharp with panic. Where's the takeout? Didn't you just go get it? Oh, that, I chuckled. I just saw your mom. Since it's your order, it made sense to have her pick it up. I recalled how 10 minutes earlier, when I told Sarah's mother about the food delivery, she had only muttered a few affectionate complaints and gave me a half-hearted thank you before going to fetch the takeout for her precious daughter. To my surprise, Sarah let out a shriek and bolted out the door without a care for how she looked. The rest of the classmates and I, along with Sarah's father who was completely in the dark, hurried after her. Stepping outside, I saw Sarah violently kicking and punching a man near her cottage until he shoved her to the ground, where she collapsed instantly. Meanwhile, Sarah's mother was dragged into the bushes by the same man, stripped completely naked. It's terrifying to imagine what would have happened if Sarah hadn't intervened in time. Watching the scene unfold, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. What if I had been the one to go just now? Would I have ended up in the same miserable situation as my previous life? Seeing the scene before him, Sarah's father let out a furious roar and charged straight at Luke, the two of them immediately brawling. After all, Sarah's father was getting on in years, no match for a drifter who'd spent years roughing it on the streets. Beaten to the ground and curled into a ball by Luke in just a few blows, the man wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and glared fiercely at Sarah. Damn you, how dare you get someone to lay hands on me? Didn't you tell me to pose as a delivery guy and said whoever came to get the food would be the wife you set me up with? I haven't even complained about you hooking me up with some middle-aged woman, and now you have the nerve to boss me around here. Luke grabbed Sarah by the hair, his lecherous gaze roaming over her body. Since I'm not satisfied with this match, and you're so eager to help, why don't you be my little Wife instead. 7. As he spoke, Luke puckered his foul mouth and leaned in to kiss Sarah. The classmates at the birthday party were first stunned, then upon hearing Luke's words, stared at Sarah in disbelief. It wasn't until Sarah's father scrambled to his feet and started brawling with Luke again that everyone remembered to call the police and break up the fight. The police arrived quickly, and Sarah's family of 3 along with Luke were all taken away. This incident caused Sarah's reputation to take a sharp turn. As for the poor soul she sent to fetch the takeout, yours truly, I became the talk of the town. They even came up with a reason for me. It was all because of my past conflicts with Sarah that drove her to such extremes. No one expected that such an ordinary matter would push Sarah to be so ruthless, attempting to destroy a young woman's virtue. I was determined to play the victim role to the hilt, no matter who asked. I'd act completely clueless and express how heartbroken I was by Sarah's actions. Because of this incident, I had to put the gift I prepared for Sarah on hold for the time being. I don't know what tricks Sarah's parents pulled, but they managed to make Luke completely retract his previous statement at the police station. He claimed full responsibility for everything, and just like that, Sarah went from being an instigator to an innocent bystander caught up in the mess. What surprised me even more was her mental fortitude. She actually had the nerve to come back to school for classes. The moment she appeared at the classroom doorway, the students fell silent, all eyes fixed on Sarah. After class, Sarah loitered near me once again. Gone was the usual gentleness from her face, replaced by a palpable malice that radiated from her entire being. Opal, this is all your fault for bringing my family to this state. If you had just picked up the takeout, none of this would have happened to us. Sarah was grinding her teeth in anger. I stood up, patted her on the shoulder, and whispered in her ear, this is just the beginning. If you hadn't intended to harm others, you wouldn't be suffering now. Sarah, we've got plenty of time ahead. Sarah shuddered and stared at me in stunned disbelief, as if she couldn't quite process what I had just said. As for Sarah, before she could even do anything back in the classroom, a short video had already started spreading like wildfire online. It all started with an anonymous account that joined the school's confession page and posted a video. The video showed Sarah sneaking into a room, looking around to make sure no one was there, then quickly unzipping a backpack and pulling out 2 pairs of dance shoes. She let out a cold laugh before taking them away. The name on the backpack was Dana, the very girl who had previously taken the arts exam with her and mysteriously lost her shoes. In fact, after losing her shoes, Dana never gave up on finding out the truth. I added her contact information, and it was only after my reminder that Dana thought to check the surveillance footage, which revealed Sarah's incriminating evidence. News of Sarah's confirmed theft, which cost Dana her chance at her dream university, was spreading like wildfire. On the same afternoon the short video went viral, Dana showed up right at the classroom door. It has to be said that the dance student, with years of training, outshone Sarah in both poise and appearance. Not surprisingly, Dana might have been one of the people Sarah held a grudge against. You, what are you doing here? Just moments ago, Sarah had been desperately pleading her case to her classmates, insisting she had been framed. The next second, Dana appeared, with a frosty expression. Dana flung 2 pairs of visibly charred dance shoes directly at Sarah. 8. I've already had them examined. Your fingerprints are all over these. Sarah, I'm reporting this to the police, and you'd better be ready to face the consequences. What? How could this happen? Before Sarah could process what happened, Dana walked away without looking back. I tidied up the notes on my desk, pretending not to have heard anything. The issues in Sarah's family haven't been fully resolved yet. Sarah's parents were already arguing over problems with her upbringing, and now with this new situation, it's clear she's in for a rough time ahead. The incident involving Dana prompted the school to launch an investigation into Sarah, with both witnesses and physical evidence present. Sarah's parents had no choice but to go through another round of difficult negotiations with Dana's family. The final outcome was that Sarah was expelled but allowed to remain on campus under probation. The school only showed this leniency because the national college entrance exams were approaching. Dana reportedly received a compensation payment of 300,000 yuan, which would allow her to prepare for transferring to another school without financial pressure. These successive incidents completely tore away the facade of Sarah's supposedly serene and gentle demeanor. Whenever someone asked Sarah why she did these things, she'd put on an aloof air and say, I won't even try to defend myself. The truth will speak for itself. The irony was that the same person who claims the truth speaks for itself was frantically switching between burner accounts on the school forum, desperately defending herself. It was pathetically easy to figure out it was Sarah. Under every post exposing Sarah's facade of being unassuming and serene, her alt accounts would fire back with aggressive rebuttals. Some people pointed out that Sarah accused herself of being selfish for not giving her breakfast to a homeless elderly person, yet she would later show disgust towards homeless elders by holding her nose and rolling her eyes whenever she passed by them. An alternate account claimed that Sarah has a respiratory condition and couldn't stand the foul odor emanating from homeless elders. Others mentioned an incident where a financially struggling student carefully scooped a bowl of the free, ingredient-rich soup in the cafeteria, but Sarah poured it all back, accused the student of selfishness, and forbade them from having the school's free soup again. The alternate account argued in the comments that Sarah was concerned other students might not get any soup, emphasizing her compassionate nature and expressing confusion over why people were attacking her. When someone mentioned that Sarah's admirer had moved on and started dating someone else, Sarah began showering him with attention while casually making disparaging remarks about the other girl. An alternate account fiercely defended Sarah, claiming she never said or did those things, and demanded the whistleblower provide evidence. Well, that certainly stirred up a hornet's nest. The whistleblower actually had proof, screenshots showing Sarah telling the admirer his girlfriend was tacky, academically weak, and had poor taste. While pretending to feel sorry for him, they even released a recording of Sarah belittling the other person on the phone, all while claiming she's not one to gossip. She only spoke up because she couldn't stand to watch any longer. The whole thing reeks of passive-aggressive nonsense, dripping with fake sweetness, that shut the burner account up for good. A bunch of concerned users banded together to report it, and the account got suspended, turned into a jumble of random characters. 9. Sarah's reputation has been taking a nosedive, with the recent mock exams keeping everyone buried in their studies. There's been far less enthusiasm for gossip. My competition results are in, and I've secured direct admission, but at my request, the school agreed to keep it under wraps to avoid dampening other students' spirits. I continued attending classes and taking exams as usual. Sarah kept glancing my way during that time, and eventually couldn't resist coming over to ask about the competition results herself. Oh, that, I feigned a helpless shrug. Didn't make the cut. Why do you ask? You didn't get in. A flicker of joy crossed Sarah's face, but it was quickly replaced by displeasure. Her expression held a clear, I'm disappointed you didn't fight harder. Opal, if you weren't going to give it your all, why did you even waste this opportunity? Sarah's voice suddenly rose sharply. If you had listened to me and given the chance to someone else, we might have another student with a guaranteed admission right now. How could you be so selfish? The surrounding classmates who heard the commotion gradually put down their pens and silently turned their gaze toward us. Seeing the stage was set, Sarah grew even more excited. Opal, you're so selfish. Admit it. You're only refusing to step aside because you're afraid someone will take your spot in the competition. Why are you so obsessed with winning? Oh, shut up already. I let out a cold laugh, slammed my book on the desk, and crossed my arms as I stared back at her. Day after day, you never think about improving your own grades, too busy obsessing over others, terrified someone else's success might make you uncomfortable. If you're so capable, why don't you snatch that competition spot and give it away? Though with the brains that got you caught stealing shoes on camera, growing a second one probably wouldn't help. You have the nerve to call others opportunistic. Did you already forget what happened with Dana? Is your hippocampus wired differently from everyone else's? How many times do I have to say it? If you're so charitable, go marry a homeless man, give up your expensive tutor so we can all study together, and clean up for everyone in your free time, free up more hours for the rest of us to actually learn. Why aren't you doing this? Afraid everyone might learn a bit more and ace the college entrance exam, leaving you completely out of the running for university. I rolled my eyes again. So pretentious. Makes me sick. 10. Sarah was absolutely fuming, but when I feigned surprised and pointed out that her expression lacked its usual gentleness, she struggled to contain her anger. The way her expression kept shifting back and forth was downright hilarious. Can't win an argument, can't throw a punch, isn't that infuriating? Tell me, aren't you just seething? My smugness must have been too obvious, because Sarah, who always prides herself on being inscrutable, let out a shriek and actually lunged at me. I dodged backward, and a dull thud echoed. Sarah hit the wall and passed out on the spot. 11. Sarah was taken to the hospital, and her parents couldn't even come to give me trouble. I've said it before, the wrongdoers aren't just Sarah, but also her parents who enabled her. So after being reborn, I started filing anonymous reports based on the news I'd seen while floating around after my death in my previous life. Sarah's father was reported for academic misconduct and embezzling research funds. Sarah's mother was exposed for trading sexual favors for power, regularly providing underage girls to influential officials over the years to benefit her company. That's totally illegal. Just as I saw the news, a classmate finally worked up the courage to ask if they could borrow my notes. Everyone knows I'm a top student and keep meticulous notes, but with the college entrance exams looming, even though we cheer each other on, everyone's got their own agenda and isn't exactly rushing to go the extra mile for others. I noticed the girl across from me came from a humble background, just like I did, and was determined to change her future through education. It Must have taken her a lot of courage to finally approach me. Here you go. I handed over my notes without hesitation, then glanced at the other students behind me. If you need any of these, feel free to make copies. I've been accepted through early admission, so I won't need them anymore. And if you have any questions in the coming weeks, just come ask me. Wait, seriously, for real? But didn't you say it didn't work out? Sarah's going to be so pissed when she finds out. Opal, you're absolutely amazing. I watched them with a grin, and of course, they were absolutely furious, but that wasn't all. Another headache was waiting for her soon. My notes were photocopied and distributed to the whole class, and just as I promised, I helped them review as much as possible. Just 1 week before the college entrance exam, I happened to get another piece of news. Someone mentioned buying my notes outside of school, but they're completely different from the ones I distributed to everyone. I made a point of checking them out and couldn't help but laugh. Isn't this just a book of incorrect answers? No one's notes look like this. It's full of mistakes I never even corrected. But a lot of people are saying you're the one selling these. The classmate trailed off, lowering their voice. Do you think someone's trying to set you up? I chuckled. No idea. Of course they're trying to screw me over, using my notes to make money and cashing in under my name for their own pocket change. They don't even bother checking if the notes are real. If things go south, they'll just pin the blame on me. Sarah, you really never learn, do you? I knew from the start that Sarah had stolen my notes, just like in my previous life. She took my notes and shared them with other students for free. When I confronted her, she self-righteously accused me of being selfish, completely ignoring that I also needed to prepare for the college entrance exams and required my own study materials, so I had prepared a decoy set of notes in advance and kept them in my backpack. It wasn't until I noticed the fake notes had gone missing that I seized the opportunity to freely share my actual notes with a classmate who came to me for help. It really does feel good to do the right thing, but unlike Sarah, I'd never be generous with what isn't mine after I tipped them off. Other students in our grade who'd bought the notes finally realized something was wrong, with college entrance exams just around the corner. Discovering their prized top student notes were actually collections of mistakes naturally sparked their anger. Using the excuse of wanting to buy more notes, they lured Sarah out. When Sarah realized she'd been exposed, she was shocked about the counterfeit notes and tried to pin the blame on me, but then she learned from others that not only had I already received a direct admission offer, but I'd also freely shared my 3 years' worth of notes with other classmates. You're disgusting, Sarah, stealing someone else's work and then pretending to be them to sell it to us. Opal is way better than you. She shares her notes and even tutors her classmates for free. Give us our money back and compensate us for all the time we wasted. Sarah was already struggling at home and strapped for cash. She decided to target me partly for the money and partly to mess with my head. In the end, her scheme backfired spectacularly. Sarah was beaten so badly she ended up in the hospital. With the national college entrance exams just around the corner, the parents of other exam-bound students had plenty of ways to keep her quiet and ensure she wouldn't disrupt their own children's crucial tests. Finally, the day of the exams arrived. 12. On that very same day, news broke simultaneously that Sarah's parents had gone bankrupt and been sentenced. I used my scholarship money to buy myself a nice outfit and stood among the parents, watching my classmates file into the exam hall. One by one, just as the exam hall doors were closing, a disheveled student appeared out of nowhere, desperately trying to rush in but was stopped by security. Don't stop me. I'm a college entrance exam candidate too. This is my only chance. Let me in. The struggling figure was Sarah, the same person I'd visited in the hospital to reveal the truth about the notes and incidentally inform her about her parents' situation. Sarah had been bedridden in the hospital, completely cut off from the outside world. Her phone was smashed to pieces. I mocked Sarah for having nothing left, now forced to pin her hopes on the college entrance exam just like those classmates she pretended to bond with but secretly looked down upon. If she hadn't been too weak to move, Sarah would have probably bitten my head off right then. Yet against all odds, Sarah managed to show up on the day of the exam itself. The pity is, her exam admission ticket had long become trash in the slop bucket, just like her own fate. Sarah later lost her mind, was sent by relatives to some backwater village, and reportedly married a man in his 50s, unable to bear the drastic turn their lives had taken. Sarah's parents both took their own lives in prison. With a contented smile, I closed the book in my hands, ready to embark on a new chapter of my life. Story 2. My sister is a two-legged golden crow, the hope of our entire clan, while I'm just an ordinary raven, destined to be my sister's blood thrall every time she fails her baptism by fire. My family drains my spirit blood to heal her. A raven's body holds but 1,001 drops of spirit blood. Each extraction leaves me weaker, yet my whole family thought I was faking illness. Even my betrothed shamelessly stole my core essence at my weakest moment to help my sister withstand the scorching sun. After my soul scattered, the Golden Crow Valley plunged into eternal night. The entire clan came to regret it. Faithless hearts can never be trusted. A chilling sigh roused me from the void, my eyes opened to a raging fire. Crimson as the morning sun, I stared intently at the flames, feeling an inexplicable familiarity that drew me closer. It hovered in the void, swayed slightly, and instead of answering my question, posed one of its own. Do you hate? I pressed a hand to my chest, uncertain how to respond. It chuckled softly. Go see for yourself. Witness their retribution with your own eyes. The moment he finished speaking, I was enveloped by a force and pulled back to Willow Cave. Ember, come out quickly. Lyriel is hurt, and she needs her big sister. Hearing that voice, even with only a wisp of my spirit left, I couldn't help but tremble and cower in the corner. Seeing my father stride in, my very soul quivered. Drawing spirit blood leaves no visible scars, yet the agony feels like having one's soul flayed alive, piece by excruciating piece torn from your very essence. 1,001 drops of spirit blood, 1,000 tortures. How could I not tremble in fear? I still remember begging my father, couldn't you just knock me out before taking the spirit blood? Who are you? He glared coldly and retorted, you can't handle this much pain. Your sister endures being burned alive every single time. Drawing spirit blood during unconsciousness diminishes its potency. Don't you dare mention this again. Yet strangely, touching those flames causes no harm at all. When the sun reaches its zenith each year, celestial fire descends upon Golden Crow Valley. Those chosen as Golden Crows must endure the baptism of heavenly flames until they emerge triumphant, transformed into radiant suns. The Golden Crow changes every 1,000 years, but should the millennium pass without a new sun rising, the Valley of Golden Crows will plunge into eternal night. That's why my twin sister is our clan's last hope. Yet when the millennium came, she never succeeded in her trial by fire, only burning herself time and again. Whenever the celestial fire descends each year, they'd lock me in the Willow Cave, denying me even a glimpse of sunlight. One day, a wisp of celestial fire somehow fell into Willowwood Hollow. Instead of burning anything, it was completely absorbed by me. After absorbing the heavenly flames, my body felt light and energized like never before. When I told my parents about it, my father struck me so hard he shattered half my wing. Liar, are you that desperate to take your sister's place? Let me make this clear, don't even dream about it. Celestial fire reduces everything to ashes. Had it truly struck Willow Hollow, you and that wretched cave would have been cinders by now. Keep spouting nonsense, and I'll relieve you of your remaining wing. You'd better remember the only reason you're living comfortably now is by your sister's grace. By my sister's grace, you say, but for the past 1,000 years, I've never felt truly safe. Ember, unable to find me, father, in a fit of rage, kicked down the door to the Willow Cave at the entrance. Kale sidestepped the flying wood splinters, his brow deeply furrowed. Valley Master, this is no time for anger. Lyriel's condition won't tolerate any delay. As he spoke, he stepped inside and scanned the room, unable to suppress his growing unease. Where's Ember? I used soul-binding spikes to immobilize her limbs. She couldn't have escaped this cabin. While speaking, he strode to a wooden shelf and ran his fingers over long-dried bloodstains. The soul-binding nails remained, yet I was nowhere to be seen. His furrowed brow deepened with confusion, but my bewilderment surpassed his. How could he not know I was already dead? Wasn't it his own hand that took my life? I stretched out my hands, staring at the 2 bloody holes in my wrists, feeling an unbearable ache in my chest. He was originally a foreign bird who fell into the valley after failing his heavenly tribulation. I was the one who brought him back, to save him. I sneaked into the forbidden Golden Crow Valley alone to gather spirit herbs. That time, I nearly died in the Forbidden Land. When he awoke, he was grateful for my kindness and sympathetic to my plight, firmly vowing to protect me for the rest of my life. Yet, before my sister's last rebirth, he disregarded my weakened state, bound me to a wooden frame with spirit-binding nails, and brutally extracted my core essence. He said, Lyriel is running out of time. With your core essence, her fiery rebirth will be much more secure. Don't worry, once her rebirth is successful, your core essence will be returned to you. He left with such nonchalance, not even glancing back. Yet, the soul-binding nail he left behind is desperately draining my life force. My body ached then, but it was nothing compared to the pain in my heart. The man who once frowned at my slightest scratches, after all, no longer here. I found myself standing in front of him, scrutinizing his expression. That face, at this very moment, was completely consumed with anxiety and worry for another woman. Did he genuinely not know I was dead? But the spirit-binding nail was clearly his magical artifact. That just doesn't add up. His expression suddenly shifted. He retracted the spirit-binding nail and gritted his teeth. Embers escaped. Valley Master, issue an immediate order for a valley-wide search and arrest. She's utterly selfish. Lyriel carries the hopes and safety of our entire clan. Yet, she'd abandon her responsibilities and flee just to avoid a little physical pain. I misjudged her. I turned around. Disbelief etched on My face, how could he say something like that when my entire clan was urging me to sacrifice myself for my sister, for the greater good? He was the one who held me and said, everyone has the right to choose their own life. Why should someone have to sacrifice themselves to achieve some greater good? Can something that demands such a sacrifice truly be called greater good? But now, he's been assimilated. When I couldn't appear in time to save Lyriel, he, just like the others, blamed me for being selfish. But what could I have done? They've drained my spiritual blood and taken my core essence. Even if I'm still alive, what's the difference between me and a crippled? My spirit was pulled by a faint force, following behind Kale and my father. I personally heard my father give the order concerning me: alive, bring him back; dead, bring his corpse. If he resists, just leave him enough breath to survive. I always knew he held no affection for me, yet my heart still ached beyond control. I followed them into my sister's cavern. It was a spacious cavern, lavishly adorned and impeccably kept. My sister lay upon precious fire-woven brocade, her cheeks glowing with health. Only her lips appeared slightly pale, with burn marks visible on her arms. It seems my golden core has lessened her injuries this time. She's not badly hurt, yet my parents grew more anxious than ever before, especially mother, who kept cursing me as a heartless beast, worse than an animal. She collapsed into her father's arms, utterly heartbroken. Without her spiritual blood, what will become of Lyriel? With all these injuries, how much more suffering must Lyriel endure? My hand, reaching out to embrace her, just hung there in midair. Right, how could I forget? She never loved me. I once thought she was different from my father. She never struck or scolded me, but we seldom met, leaving our bond somewhat distant. So after one bloodletting ritual, I stumbled weakly into her cave dwelling, tearful eyes pleading for comfort. Mother, it hurts so much. Could you hold me? My mother's eyes filled with utter disgust as she took several steps back, putting distance between us. How dare you complain of pain? Had you not stolen your sister's spiritual essence in the womb and ruined her foundation, why would she still be failing to achieve solar ascension after all this time? You're nothing but a curse. Everything you do now is atonement for what you did to your sister. I still remember how my heart felt like it was being torn apart in that moment. I never deprived Lyriel of her prenatal nourishment in the womb. In fact, I often helped her absorb the vital fluids when she struggled, yet these womb-bound events can never be verified. Mother's conviction about this matter is unshakable, so in their eyes, I've been tainted with evil since birth. After all these years serving as Lyriel's blood thrall, they still won't change their opinion of me. All these emotions are trapped in my chest, with no way to vent or voice them at that moment. Lyriel slowly raised her head. Though her eyes were rimmed red, she still managed to offer Kale a faint smile. That forced smile was heartbreaking for anyone to witness. Kale, please stop pressuring my sister. She's not like me. She doesn't have to carry the hopes of our people, nor the destiny of the Golden Crow. She paused, then softly added, sometimes, I truly envy her. I gave a wry smile. Envy me for what? While I don't bear the destiny of the Golden Crow, have I ever had a moment of freedom? All these years, my spiritual blood must always be ready for her. If she makes even the slightest mistake, I have to endure the agony of 1,000 cuts, and she, though she must endure the pain of rebirth through fire, is beloved by her entire clan, and everything she enjoys is the best the clan has to offer. Even her fiery torment often only lasts for a few hours. The moment she comes down, Father will use my spirit blood to ease her suffering without delay, yet no one would ever think of such things. Hearing her words, Mother slipped from Father's embrace and rushed to the bedside, cradling Lyriel's head against her chest with tender strokes. You're far too considerate for your own good, Lyriel. I regret ever giving birth to such a selfish monster. How could she abandon her gravely injured sister at this critical moment? She'd better rot out there. I'll never forgive her as long as I live. The moment my name was mentioned, her gentle expression twisted into pure loathing. Kale pressed his lips into a thin line, his expression turning glacial. I'll drag her back myself. He spun around abruptly, missing the fleeting glint in Lyriel's eyes. Kale searched everywhere I used to love going, because I had taken him to all those places, and it turned out he still remembered them. At each spot, he would furrow his brow and call out my name. Ember, come out. You must know, if Lyriel fails to ignite the sun, the entire Golden Crow Valley will cease to exist. Are you truly going to stand by and watch all your people perish? Ember, just come out now and save Lyriel, and I will fulfill every single one of my promises to you. I followed behind him, smiling wryly, but those promises, I don't care for them anymore. He once promised to take me beyond Golden Crow Valley to witness the lone smoke over the desert and the setting sun upon the endless river. He vowed that even if the whole world abandoned me, he would stand by my side forever. He whispered promises of shielding me through this lifetime, of growing old together with our hands entwined. Little did he know, all those vows dissolved the day he stole my golden core. When I failed to appear as he'd hoped, he sighed and transformed into a bluebird, soaring to the summit. This place was utterly desolate, nothing but unyielding rock stretching endlessly, yet even this indomitable stone had once been split asunder by his sheer force, leaving a gaping hole. Back then, Drawn by the thunderous noise, I flew up to investigate. That was the first time I'd seen a bird that wasn't a raven. His magnificent blue feathers were soaked in blood, a sight of heartbreaking beauty. The cave is still there, but the blood-soaked blue bird is long gone. Kale finding the forbidden grounds was something I never anticipated. I found him years ago and secretly brought him back to Willowwood Cave, but he didn't wake up for a long time. I frantically tried many methods, and finally, in an ancient text, I found mention of a spirit herb in the Forbidden Golden Crow Valley that had miraculous healing properties. The Forbidden Golden Crow Valley is a place where survival is a slim chance. It's unguarded, yet no one dares to venture in. I was scared when I walked in, I don't know why, but I was desperate to save him. Maybe I just needed a companion too badly. Kale paused at the doorway, lost in thought. By the time I snapped out of it, he'd already stepped inside. I couldn't help but exclaim, "Kale, have you lost your mind?" But he couldn't hear me. He merely frowned slightly as he walked through the corrosive grass, eyeing his tattered hemline. While traversing the misty woods, the miasma seeped into his body, black blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. He turned back. This place is far too perilous. With her current power, there's no way she could have hidden here. True, I wasn't always this weak, but each time they drained my spirit blood, my power dwindled further. That time in the valley, retrieving the elixir was half luck, half me gambling with my life. As they neared the Forbidden Zone's exit, Kale's peripheral vision caught the purple wildflowers, and froze. Following his gaze, my eyes drifted downward. That time when I was mortally wounded, I plucked one of these little flowers as I left the Forbidden Zone. I thought to myself, if I were to perish, this flower would stand as proof I'd been here, yet it withered all too quickly. It had withered before Kale even woke. Kale bent to pluck one before turning back toward Lyriel's dwelling. "Brother Kale, did you find sister?" Lyriel was the first to hear movement. Seeing Kale enter, she immediately sat up, her face alight with urgency. "No, I never imagined she'd be so heartless as to refuse even me." Turning around and seeing Lyriel's troubled expression, he stopped mid-sentence and offered her the small purple flower in his hand. "Don't worry, she can't hide forever. Here, this flower's for you. Cheer up." Lyriel managed a faint smile, brought the blossom to her nose for a delicate sniff, and asked with childlike innocence, "What kind of flower is this? It's so beautiful and smells wonderful." Kale's expression froze abruptly. "You don't recognize this flower?" His demeanor sent Lyriel into a flustered panic. "Brother Kale, should I recognize this flower?" Kale's fist clenched then relaxed as he gave a faint smile. "It's nothing, just something I brought from the Forbidden Zone. A trivial matter. You probably just forgot." Lyriel's body swayed almost imperceptibly, her expression growing increasingly uneasy. "What made you think of going there, Brother Kale?" "I just thought Ember might be hiding there, so I went to check." Lyriel sighed in relief. "The Forbidden Zone is deadly. Sister values her life too much to ever go there. You shouldn't go there either, Kale. It's too dangerous." Kale gently tucked her back into the fire-woven blanket, his voice soft. "Get some rest now. I need to discuss something with your father." Lyriel nodded obediently. I followed Kale to the doorway when suddenly, sensing something, I turned back, clutching a dull, lifeless amber stone in her hand. Lyriel's gaze grew sharp. "That's my birthstone. Its fortune is bound to its master, but this stone should be in Mother's keeping. How did it end up in her hands? What exactly did that expression on her face mean? When she saw my spirit stone had lost its glow, she must have known I was dead. So why did she keep urging everyone to search for me?" Too many unanswered questions drove me to fight my way back with everything I had no control. Some unseen force dragged me forward until I stood beside Kale in the square. A sea of shadowy clansfolk murmured below, every last one whispering about me. If only the lady had never borne the eldest. She ruined our entire valley, then fled at the worst possible moment. A disgrace to Crowkind. She's a demon born. Should have drained her spirit blood for the second daughter and burned the wretch alive when we had the chance. That scourge should have died long ago. Letting her live this many years will be the death of us all. I covered my ears, desperately trying to block out those words. I didn't. I wasn't running away. I've heard these words countless times, yet they still cut just as deep. I want to weep, but spirits shed no tears. The curses persisted until Father's arrival, then morphed into countless anxious questions. "Valley Master, what if the eldest miss never returns? Will the second Miss's wounds never heal?" Indeed, Valley Master, with the sun's radiance fading daily, how shall we survive in Golden Crow Valley without sunlight? Valley Master, is there truly no other way to treat the second lady's injuries? The father turned to Kale with a face full of worry. Kale stepped forward once more. "Rest assured, everyone, I'll spare no effort to heal Lyriel's wounds. If Ember still hasn't appeared before the final baptism of fire, I'll transfer half of my magical power to Lyriel to aid her transformation." With this promise, the Clanspeople finally wore smiles again. That's wonderful. With half of Lord Qing's spiritual power supporting her, the second young miss is bound to succeed. We are eternally grateful for Lord Qing's immense generosity. They all bowed in unison to Kale. I was utterly astonished by Kale's action. He's truly generous with Lyriel. Once he gives half his magic to Lyriel, he won't be able to maintain his human form. He'll have to cultivate for years again, and then undergo tribulation to transform. Once more, it seems he truly loves Lyriel. Father, Brother Kale. Lyriel dashed barefoot to the square, clutching a stack of letters, her eyes brimming with unshed tears and words caught in her throat. Kale instinctively snatched the letters from her hands, his face darkening with growing fury as he read. I only needed one glance at the contents before wanting to tear Lyriel apart. These letters were from various avian clans, magpies, eagles, and pheasants, all foreign tribes writing to me. The letters were filled with such obscene content that I'd even made plans to elope with every single one of them. It's all lies. These letters are forged. I never received any of them. I tried to snatch the letters from Kale's hands, but my fingers passed right through the parchment again and again, grasping nothing. Brother Kale, is it true that sister really eloped with those foreign birds? Her lashes fluttered as fat tears rolled down her cheeks. How vicious of her, knowing I'm already dead, yet. Still slandering my name, I swung at her with a slap. Though it changed nothing, Kale remained silent, but his whitened knuckles betrayed his belief. Frowning, the father snatched the letter from Kale's hand. Moments later, he furiously smashed a stone stool. This is outrageous. That unfilial daughter. I'll disown her from Golden Crow Valley. The clan members began to echo. Disown her, disown her. The eldest Miss's actions have truly disgraced our Golden Crow clan. Morons. I cursed at everyone present. Have they never considered how outsider correspondence could possibly breach Golden Crow Valley's barrier, or how I could ever leave? Freaks like Kale are few and far between, or do they just blindly believe anything Lyriel says? I was such a fool, silently serving as a blood slave for 1,000 years for people like them. They're not worth it. Not at all. Let's just disown them. This kind of clan isn't worth staying with anyway. Where did you find the letter? Kale finally remembered to ask. In my sister's room. She disappeared so suddenly, and I couldn't rest easy, so I thought I'd look for clues. Who would have thought I'd stumble upon these? Brother Kale, did I do something wrong? I shouldn't have gone through my sister's things. Kale ruffled Lyriel's hair soothingly. This isn't your fault. She's the one without shame. Lyriel buried herself in Kale's arms, clutching his collar while quietly sobbing. Big Brother Kale, what should I do? Kale hesitated for a moment before finally resting his hand on Lyriel's back, returning her embrace. I scoffed. He's been calling me shameless. But what about his actions now? One is my fiancé, the other is my sister, who's truly shameless here, sick and beyond bearing. I screamed into the void. Let me go. I can't stand the sight of these people. You promised I'd witness their retribution. Is this what justice looks like? A melodious chuckle echoed through the emptiness. Patience, my dear. Their reckoning draws near. The retribution it spoke of was the final day of scorching sun. Kale kept his promise, transferring half his arcane power to Lyriel. When the celestial flames descended, Lyriel stepped forward with unwavering confidence, but this final heavenly fire burned fiercer than ever before. Lyriel's agonized screams echoed through every corner of the Golden Crow Valley. She crashed down heavily, her entire body scorched this time. Her face twisted into something truly horrifying, staring at her hands in disbelief. She roared through streaming tears. Why won't it work? I took all of Ember's spirit blood, even fused with her core. I've become a true Golden Crow. Why is this still failing? What are you talking about? Her father was about to take Lyriel's hands when he froze. Hearing her roar, Kale stared at her blankly, his eyes wide with shock. Lyriel suddenly burst out laughing. She scrambled up from the ground and took 2 steps backward. Since I'm dying anyway, I might as well tell you, that's right. I'm not the true Golden Crow. Ember, whom you've been using as a blood thrall, is the only reason I could survive repeated trials by fire was because of Ember's blood. Shocked that I know. Heh, of course it's Ember's blood. If you'd ever consumed the Golden Crow's divine blood, you'd understand how intoxicating that miraculous power truly is. She laughed maniacally, her gaze sweeping over everyone present. No way. Ember clearly has 4 legs, and you were born with 2. Lyriel, Daddy knows you're hurting, you're suffering, but don't joke about this. Her father practically roared these words, but Lyriel was determined not to give him what he wanted. How am I supposed to know why she's a Golden Crow but was born with 4 legs? As for my 2 legs, hasn't father heard of a heavenly cripple? She took a deep breath and continued, I'm tired. We're all going to die anyway, so what's the point of dwelling on this? Go on, everyone, go back and get a good night's sleep. It might be our last. Kale made his move, a blade as thin as a cicada's wing appearing horizontally before Lyriel. I'll ask you one last time. Was it really you who went to the Forbidden Valley to retrieve the spirit medicine to save me? I wonder why Kale would ask such a question. I had explicitly told him about going to Forbidden Valley to gather herbs. As for him seeing me unharmed after he woke up, It's because the incident of me absorbing the skyfire happened to occur during those very days. Both my internal and external injuries were healed. By the skyfire, Lyriel rolled her eyes. Of course not. I'm not a real golden crow. How could I possibly come out of the Forbidden Valley alive? The only reason I deceived you was for Ember's core elixir. I just never imagined that even with the elixir and half of your magical power, I still couldn't become a true golden crow. My entire life has been more of a joke than Ember's. Oh no, you're the real joke here. Ha. I'll kill you. Kale's eyes burned crimson as his blade flashed toward her throat without hesitation. With just a flick of her finger, Lyriel shattered the sword. She sneered contemptuously. Save your breath. You've already transferred half your power to me. What hope do you have of killing me? Instead of hating me, why don't you take a good look at yourself? You claim to love Ember, but have you ever truly believed in her? Didn't you yourself carve out the core for me? Kale stumbled back several steps, so consumed by grief and indignation that he wished he could grind his teeth to dust. You tricked me. Oh really? She looked at Kale with a sarcastic glint in her eyes. That would require you to actually trust me, wouldn't it? His face instantly went ashen, and his broken sword clattered to the ground. Even more panicked than him were our own people. They all rushed towards Father. My lord, what are we going to do? How could the Golden Crow Saintess be mistaken? My lord, you owe us an explanation. The father, filled with regret, faced the accusations of his clansmen. He forced himself to maintain a stern expression and waved his hand dismissively. Search. The eternal night isn't here yet. Everyone, go find Ember. There might still be a glimmer of hope. Lyriel scoffed again. Find him. Where exactly? The underworld. Ember's been dead for ages. Bullshit. Father roared in fury and unleashed a surge of formidable magic toward Lyriel. Just as he'd done to me in the past. He used to be so careful. He wouldn't even raise his voice at Lyriel. Now he's actually willing to strike her. It seems what he truly loves isn't any daughter, but the prestige of being the Golden Crow. It's a shame for him, though, because Lyriel is unbelievably powerful now. The magical force was neutralized by the barrier around her when it was still an inch away. She didn't even have to lift a hand. She pulled my companion's spirit stone from her waist and threw it before Father. See this. This is Ember's companion's spirit stone. Do you still believe she's alive now? Kale picked up the companion's spirit stone even before his father, his hands trembling uncontrollably. Impossible. How could she be dead? She only took a primordial pill. Lyriel raised her hand, suddenly feigning innocence. Oops, my bad. Brother Kale, I forgot to mention I've enchanted your soul-binding nails with a soul-devouring array. Anything trapped by them will be utterly annihilated, body and soul. Aren't you thrilled, Brother Kale? My soul-devouring array just made your nails way more powerful, you maniac, you vile, twisted maniac. Kale drew the soul-binding spike, channeling his magic repeatedly into the artifact in a desperate attempt to detect my lingering presence. Then, what about those letters? One clansman finally spoke up timidly, his curiosity getting the better of him. I forged them, Lyriel replied without a hint of hesitation. If I hadn't made you believe Ember escaped Golden Crow Valley sooner, would Kale have ever agreed to transfer half his powers to me? Father collapsed onto the ground. This proud, dignified man had never lived so utterly defeated before. Lyriel, how could you become so vicious? When it comes to cruelty, I doubt any of you could outdo me. Do you think I wanted to become the Golden Crow Saintess? You forced this upon me. If I refused, I'd be condemned as a blood thrall. Tell me, would any of you willingly choose that fate? Lyriel's gaze swept across the assembled crowd until every head had bowed in submission. You drove me to kill Ember too. I knew failure this final time meant my end. If I must die, why should any of you live? With Ember alive, you'd cling to false hope, just like before, begging for one last chance. I'll never give you that chance. The entire valley shall be my funeral pyre. The mother suddenly charged from nowhere, gripping a broken sword tip with blood streaming from her palm as she lunged at Lyriel's back. You're the real demon here. Give me back my daughter. Lyriel lifted her by the throat with sorrowful eyes. Mother, how could even you change? Wasn't it you who said my sister wronged me, that she owes me? The mother thrashed desperately, her legs flailing wildly. Lyriel, release your mother, the father shouted, but the mother's neck snapped in that instant. Tears streamed down Lyriel's expressionless face as she uttered words colder than death. You're the one who deserves to die most. The father dared not step forward, forced to watch helplessly as Lyriel flung her mother aside like a ragged cloth. I couldn't help but sigh in dismay. After basking in a mother's love for 1,000 years, to strike with such ruthless finality, Kale didn't linger in the square any longer. He headed for the Forbidden Zone. When he spotted the purple wildflowers again, he paused and muttered to himself, during my coma, I'd occasionally wake in a daze and see these same flowers in a vase on the table. Never saw them again after that. You claimed it was you who entered the Forbidden Zone. Yet you bore no scars whatsoever. That mystery lingered in my mind for a long time. Then your sister came to me. She said she couldn't bear to see you deceive me any longer, and after much deliberation, she decided to tell me the truth. She said it was her who went into the Forbidden Zone, which is why she was bedridden for so long. I went to your people to confirm, and they all said that no one, except for the Golden Crow Saintess, could ever come out of that Forbidden Zone alive. Ember. I'm so sorry. I was such a complete fool, manipulated every step of the way, and it cost you your life. He slapped himself repeatedly through tears. I pressed my lips together, at a loss for words. I never realized there was such a misunderstanding between us, so that's why he suddenly changed and started being nice to Lyriel later. I began to think Kale might have lost his mind. I watched helplessly as he recklessly charged deeper into the Forbidden Zone. On the verge of death, he stumbled upon a medicinal herb garden. After consuming one mystical herb, his condition slightly improved. Then he reached for a second. When Kale emerged from the Forbidden Lands, his powers had grown greater than ever before. With a single blue feather, he conjured a long sword and slaughtered many of our kin, demanding to know my father's whereabouts. The cowardly clansman told him father was at the Cliff of Repentance. Just hearing that name made my skin crawl, yet I had no choice but to go. I've lost count of how many times my sister framed me, landing me in the Reflection Cliff as punishment since childhood. The Reflection Cliff imprisons a flock of spectral eagles. These ferocious birds have always been the natural enemies of us crows. The shrieks of these spectral eagles strike primal fear into our crow hearts, their barbed talons capable of tearing away chunks of flesh with ease. I've endured that excruciating pain of flesh being torn inch by inch, that mental torment pushing me to the brink of collapse. Countless times, every time I left that place, I'd spend half a year in a daze, unable to sleep through the night. I begged my father, anything but throwing me back into the Cliff of Reflection again, yet he showed no mercy. Time after time, I nearly lost my mind in that hellhole. If it weren't for the fear that Golden Crow Valley would truly be plunged into eternal night, I would have sought death long ago. Looking back now, an early death might have been a blessing, sparing me so much torment. Even before we entered the cave, my father's screams were incessant. The moment we actually saw him, Kale and I both frowned simultaneously. Not an inch of his flesh remained unmaimed, his bloodied form staining the frigid pool crimson. Spotting Kale, he bared his teeth in a ghastly grin. So this is the agony I've inflicted. Time and again I ignored Ember's pleas and cast her into this hell. Lyriel claimed it was mere flesh wounds. How easily I believed her. How quick I was to call Ember weak. I'm worse than a beast. Before his words faded, a piercing eagle's cry rang out as his body flipped twice midair before plunging into the icy pool. I meant to kill him for you, Ember, but now I think this is better. Let him suffer. I was more than happy to see him leave. This place terrified me beyond measure. Later, we found Lyriel at the summit of the canyon. Her wound showed no signs of healing as she frantically tried to break the barrier. At the sight of Kale, a flicker of joy broke through her agitated expression. Kale, let's shatter this barrier together. I've been thinking, why should we just wait here to die? Let's leave this place. From now on, the world will be ours to explore, together. With a mere gesture, Kale's longsword flashed into his hand. Dream on, none shall leave this canyon alive. You'll all die here. No sooner were the words spoken than he lunged at Lyriel. Lyriel resumed her trademark look of disdain. Did you really think a few days of rest would make you my match? Dream on, but Kale's blade pierced straight through her arm. Her face was a portrait of disbelief. Impossible. Half your magical essence is still with me. Kale wasted no words on her, driving his blade straight into her abdomen and swiftly extracting my core essence. No, give it back. Lyriel collapsed to the ground, coughing up blood, yet still reaching desperately for the glowing core. You're unworthy of what belongs to her. Kale stowed the cracked core into his spatial pouch before hauling her unceremoniously toward Willow Root Cavern. He slammed Lyriel against the wooden rack, pinning her limbs with soul-binding spikes. Wouldn't it be a shame not to experience the magic array you've set up yourself? At this moment, Kale resembled a fallen demon, utterly ruthless and cruel, but that wasn't all. Amidst Lyriel's pained whimpers, he produced a jade vial and began extracting her spiritual essence drop by drop. Lyriel couldn't endure it any longer, pleading desperately, I was wrong. Please spare me, I'm begging you, Brother Kale. I had no choice. It was our parents, no, the entire Obsidian Vale, who truly harmed Ember. Kale remained ice cold. Don't worry, not a single one of them will escape. Lyriel's heart finally turned to stone. Her ever-defiant head finally bowed in defeat. Please, just kill me, end this suffering. Are you satisfied now? The melodious voice whispered by her ear once more. How strange. I loathe them, yet seeing Black Gold Valley like this brings me no joy. There's no triumphant thrill of vengeance, just a quiet heart tinged with sorrow. It sighed. All things must come to an end. I gazed at the sky. The sun seemed veiled in mist as the canyon grew darker. Boom, a bolt of lightning streaked across the sky, instantly eclipsing the sun's radiance. The canyon is collapsing. Run. The eternal night is coming. Chaos erupted outside. Kale paused mid-motion and walked to the entrance of Willowwood Cave. Torrents of heavenly water cascaded down threatening to engulf the entire canyon. Suddenly, blinding flames erupted around me, wrapped in warmth. My ethereal soul floated midair, taking on tangible form. Ember, I knew you weren't dead. Ember. Kale's eyes welled up with tears as he moved to embrace me. Suddenly, a colossal golden crow materialized behind me. No, she's gone. What you see now is merely a wisp of spirit I've separated. A fragment of her consciousness housed within it, buying her but a fleeting moment. Kale shook his head in disbelief, yet couldn't lay a finger on me no matter how hard he tried. It's the Golden Crow Mother. The Golden Crow Mother has come to save us. The entire clan cried out in unison, prostrating themselves in reverence. I cannot save you. Its voice carried a detached serenity. I gave you 3 lifetimes, 3 full chances, yet you never treated my child fairly. It seems eternal night is the destined fate for your Golden Crow Valley. No, Mother of Golden Crows, you are our progenitor. You should protect your people. Yet despite their tearful pleas, the Golden Crow paid them no heed. It turned to Kale instead. I granted them 3 lifetimes of chances, just as I did for you. In each life you claimed to be deceived, claimed to love her, yet never once did you choose her with conviction. Do you still insist you love her now? Kale shook his head, his face a canvas of conflicting emotions. How could I ever be worthy of loving her? Then let this romance come to an end. It breathed out a stream of fire, and suddenly a flaming line materialized between Kale and me. The thread burned away strand by strand as Kale clutched his chest, as though some emotion was being torn from him. The Mother of Golden Crows let out a mournful cry. My child, this is as far as I can accompany you. The flames upon me began to fade, my feet slowly dissolving into nothingness. How could this happen? Can't you save her? Kale's previously calm face twisted into an expression of terror and agitation. The Mother of Golden Crow shook her head, as if remembering something. Kale produced the jade vial and my core elixir, with both the spirit blood and core elixir here. If we just find a vessel, we can save her, right? The Mother of Golden Crows cast him a contemptuous glance, spewing tons of flame that effortlessly reduced the spirit blood and core elixir to ashes. The Golden Crow's form isn't something just anyone can replace. If it were possible, Lyriel would have succeeded long ago. Give it up, every time. You harmed her, you should have known you'd lose her. The Mother of Golden Crows vanished once more before everyone's eyes. The flames upon me vanished completely, returning to transparency. Ember, Ember. Kale screamed my name into the void with heart-rending desperation. I simply watched with cold detachment, silently embracing my own dissolution. The rain came down in torrents. Kale remained kneeling on the ground for a long while before turning back into the house. Lyriel had grown terribly weak. This time, Kale ended her swiftly. Lyriel's body collapsed to the ground, instantly transforming into a featherless crow. Kale didn't even glance at it, his eyes held only hollow emptiness, incapable of registering anything else. His fingers twisted into claws as he plunged them into his own dantian, wrenching out and crushing his golden core. Between uncontrollable bouts of vomiting blood, he let out a soft chuckle. So this is what true pain feels like, Ember. I'm so sorry, I repaid your kindness with cruelty. I was worse than an animal. I'm giving my life back to you. No debts owed. We won't meet again in the next life. With those words, he forced himself onto the wooden frame, driving the spirit-binding nails deep into his limbs. The spirit-binding nails ravenously drained his life force, just as they had once drained mine. Yet, Kale seemed oblivious to the agony, his head bowed, only the faintest breaths escaping him. As I was about to vanish completely, the Valley of Golden Crows plunged into utter darkness. Mountains crumbled and seas split apart, leaving only wails of despair in the darkness, a living hell on earth. Farewell, Valley of Golden Crows. The Mother of Golden Crows lied. I didn't die. I am born of the Golden Crow Mother, immortal as she is eternal. Only now, I've forgotten who I truly am. The Golden Crow Mother cast me into another gorge, decreeing that in 1,000 years, I shall again bear the duty to illuminate its depths. Yet that gorge bears not the name Golden Crow Vale. It is called Peach Blossom Spring. The end. How unusual. I shook my head. In my past life, my sister bore a celestial prodigy destined to become the sovereign of the new realm, yet all my pregnancies ended in stillbirths. After my demonic lord husband forced forbidden arts upon me, I barely survived childbirth, only to deliver a feeble-minded child, ashamed of our defective heir. My husband recklessly augmented the child's cultivation at the cost of its health while tormenting me endlessly. The relentless humiliation broke me, my golden core shattered in the end. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back at the celestial betrothal ceremony, watching the demon god resolutely choose my sister. I realized he too had been reborn. He believed selecting my sister would birth a divine prodigy with celestial roots, destined to rule the new realm. Little did he know his weak primordial essence could only produce stillborn children with us, descendants of Nuwa, the immortal demon war. Raged for centuries, the heavenly Tao descends upon the mortal realm. A new realm was established, named the Neo-Domain. The heavenly Tao ordained the marriage between the celestial and demonic sovereigns, proclaiming a pivotal prophecy. In 10 years' time, their lineage would bear the mightiest overlord the Neo-Domain has ever known. My sister and I, descendants of Nuwa, are the heavenly Tao's chosen matriarchs of the future Neo-Domain overlord, on the Twin Peaks where immortals and demons meet. My sister and I stood hand in hand, awaiting the choice of the two divine lords. When I saw demon god Merrick again, my heart clenched so tight I could barely breathe. In my past life, demon god Merrick chose me. I tore my body apart, enduring unspeakable agony to bear his child. The child was stillborn, leaving us helpless. Losing the child tore my heart apart. Merrick flew into a berserk rage, hurling insults at me and slaughtering those close to me in blind fury. I can still smell the metallic tang of blood hanging in the air. This time, Merrick made his decision swiftly, with fingers interlaced. The inky chains in his hands lashed out like living serpents, deftly ensnaring his sister. Merrick held her tight, his eyes gleaming with triumph and satisfaction. From this moment onward, you belong to me. My child shall claim the throne of this new realm. The gods were abuzz with discussion, though Clove's cultivation far surpassed Juno's. Merrick shockingly chose the younger sister. Merrick's choice didn't surprised me. He'd been reborn too. In their past life when Juno bore a celestial prodigy, his jealousy drove him to slaughter several immortal realm children. Young Juno, innocent and inexperienced in matters of the heart, I'd warned her to be cautious. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears as she looked at me. Merrick raised his hand, cutting off our locked gaze. He's always been domineering. You are my woman, and I will lavish upon you affection like never before. Within these 3 realms, anything your heart desires shall be placed in your hands, and the children you bear shall be blessed with extraordinary gifts, favored by the heavens themselves. Merrick pointed at me and sneered. As for her, if she could bear children at all, they'd likely be dull-witted fools. Stay away from women of her sort from now on. With those final words, the 2 figures dissolved into a streak of black light, vanishing over the cliff's edge. My face turned deathly pale, fingers clenched into fists within my sleeves. He dares call the child a dullard. The audacity. In my past life, Merrick exploited my trust in him to subject me to an unspeakably cruel forbidden ritual. Under his control, I nearly died giving birth to a blood-soaked abomination in excruciating pain. Though my child bore defective spiritual roots unfit for cultivation, his kind heart and filial devotion made me love him dearly. Yet this sent Merrick into a furious rage. He called the child a half-wit. Using dark arts, he forcibly enhanced the simpleton's cultivation, subjecting him to inhuman torment. Unable to bear the poor soul's daily suffering, I ignited my Nuwa descendant's bloodline power to break his curse, only to be discovered by Merrick under relentless humiliation. The overwhelming pressure shattered my core and ended my life. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back on the day the 2 divine lords were choosing their brides. I could never comprehend Merrick's actions, but now I understand. Everything Merrick did was for the throne of the new realm. My devoted, foolish child was tortured beyond recognition by Merrick. I clenched my teeth in silent fury. I buried the searing hatred deep within my heart. The ritual proceeded. When the demon god Merrick chose Juno, only the celestial Zion and I remained as natural partners. I instinctively moved to stand beside Lord Zion. He took a deliberate step sideways, putting distance between us. He dislikes me. I couldn't care less. In this life, I shall devote myself to cultivation to avenge my simple-minded child. The ritual was lengthy, but both Divine Lord Zion and I possess remarkable patience. We remained standing rigidly at our posts throughout. The other immortals believed our competitive diligence had gravely disadvantaged them. They began whispering malicious gossip about us behind our backs. Lord Zion heard the rumor and shot me a sideways glance. He said indifferently, "Rest if you're tired." I gazed into Zion's eyes, devoid of affection, just pure curiosity. His curiosity mirrored mine. "Lord Zion, they say you were born divine, mastering the path of apathy, yet that final revelation still eludes you." Zion made no attempt to conceal it. He confessed, "In the way of detachment, both love and hatred are shackles, yet the heavenly Tao proclaims, even apathy holds affection." Thus he yielded to cosmic will and accepted this matrimonial bond with me. I lowered my eyes without saying a word. Zion has no interest in becoming the ruler of the new territories. He's solely obsessed with cultivation. Is he trying to use our marriage bond to break through his current realm? Seriously, can someone truly be free from the lust for power and status? Zion took me back to Mount Wudao where he practiced cultivation. Just as I was worrying about how to decline Zion's dual cultivation proposal, his young disciple informed me the master had entered seclusion, telling me to make myself at home. The lively Hans shook his head while gazing at the mountain peak. "Madam, you truly deserve better. Master's always been this Heartless married yet still obsessing over cultivation all day, utterly dull. Don't worry, with me showing you around town, I guarantee 365 days of non-stop fun with something new every single day. Hans' plans quickly fell through, because he discovered his master's wife was equally obsessed with cultivation. Unable to descend the mountain alone, Hans had no choice but to focus on his training. The demon realm has been quite eventful during my year of seclusion. The demon lord Merrick has amassed countless tonics, treasures, and magical artifacts for his beloved wife. What couldn't be taken by force was simply destroyed. Every soul in the demon realm fears displeasing the demon lord's cherished consort. While they were lost in romance, I was consumed by cultivation. The day my sword shattered from where I faced my great ascension tribulation, I sat cross-legged atop Mount Wudo, gazing at the heavens. The day had finally come. The thunderclouds gathered like thick, inky darkness that refused to dissipate. Hans and Zion emerged from seclusion early to stand guard for me nearby. Hans paced anxiously at the sight. Master, the 9th heavenly tribulation just passed. Why has the divine retribution arrived now? The heavenly tribulation is a divine punishment cast by the heavenly Tao, typically inflicted upon cultivators who commit unforgivable atrocities. Delivered during their breakthrough as retribution. Zion remained silent, yet his composed demeanor had vanished at the thunder's roar. He lunged forward, only to find me collapsed in the wasteland, my face flushed crimson, as if drugged with some potent aphrodisiac. My entire body burned with fever, my mind swimming in delirium. Another thunderbolt struck, yet instead of harming me, it dissolved into wisps of spring mist that enveloped both Zion and myself. I gazed at him with infatuation. Lord Zion, I'm burning up. Do you think the heavenly Tao wants us to conceive a child? The aphrodisiac mist clouded my mind completely. My arms instinctively wrapped around Zion's neck as my serpentine tail coiled around his waist. When I came to again, I'd successfully reached the Mahayana stage. With no memory of how I'd survived the heavenly tribulation, just felt a dull ache in my lower back. After overcoming the tribulation, it's customary to host a celebratory banquet. To my surprise, Merrick showed up with Juno in tow. Hans tightened his grip on the sword. How strange, a mighty demon god crashing the party with a pregnant woman in tow, trying to make us hesitate. I glanced at Juno's swollen belly, a sense of unease creeping in. She got pregnant so quickly. Merrick grew more impatient than in his previous life. Juno rushed toward me excitedly after our long separation. Congratulations on your breakthrough, sister. Merrick seized her wrist from the side. Stop right there. Don't forget you belong to me. Juno lowered her head helplessly with tearful eyes. Standing dejectedly beside Merrick, Merrick scanned the room before finally locking eyes with me, too. I always heard the celestial realm was full of worthless trash. Seems the rumors were true. Hans spoke up for me. Even the mighty demon god of the netherworld stoops to mingle with trash like us. How the mighty have fallen. Merrick ran his fingers lightly over the string of glistening rubies hanging at his waist. Surging spiritual energy rippled outward, making the wooden door rattle violently. Hans staggered backward from the force of the blast. Merrick sneered. Just insignificant ants, I could crush you with a single finger. How dare you act so insolently before me? I raised my hand to cast a spell, suppressing the spiritual pressure Merrick unleashed. The sight of me made Merrick recall the humiliating memories from his past life. A mighty demon god like him, reduced to fathering a simpleton. The entire demon realm mocked him, all because this useless woman failed him. The surrounding spiritual energy began to violently fluctuate, forming a raging tempest of power. Merrick stood at the eye of the spiritual storm. Pathetic, Clove, what's the use of gaining strength when you can't even produce an heir? No matter how hard you try, you're just a mere Mahayana cultivator. You'll never match a true god. When my child is born and rules the new territories, he curled his lips, staring down at me with the arrogance of a superior, sleeves fluttering, long hair whipping in the wind. I stood at the eye of the storm, flaming red hair defies convention. Fearless to the core, Merrick, your objectification of women disgusts me. My serpent tail lashed out, shattering the ruby beads in his grasp with one swift coil. Marik's artifact shattered, the backlash from the pact forcing a trickle of blood from his lips. His murderous gaze locked onto me. You wretch, how dare you fight back? Today, you'll pay the price. The demon god Merrick was the mightiest in the Netherrealm. Even with my desperate resistance, I was still outmatched. Hans struggled to his feet and shouted, when my master emerges from seclusion, you demonic fiend shall pay for laying hands on my mistress, divine Lord Zion. Hans said Zion took the heavenly retribution for me and is now severely wounded in closed-door cultivation. There's no way he can break through the past now. Though Merrick wanted me dead, he still feared divine retribution, but sparing my life didn't mean he'd let me go. He produced the bone-corroding nails. I closed my eyes. A surge of bitter hatred welling up in my heart. In my past life, whenever I disobeyed, he would Punish both me and the simpleton with these bone-piercing nails. The human body has 36 lethal pressure points. Each of these soul-crushing nails could inflict excruciating, death-like agony when driven into them. I can endure this, but our poor child is still so young. How could Merrick, his own father, be so heartless? The child begged him through tears, saying he was in terrible pain, promising to behave, pleading for him to spare mother. Silly child, if you're truly simple-minded, why trouble yourself with mother's suffering? This is clearly mother's failure to protect you. I'm no match for Merrick. Merrick gripped my chin, forcing me to meet his gaze. Seems you still haven't learned your lesson. My vision turned crimson. I'd gladly detonate my cord to take him down with me. A blinding white light flashed before my eyes. With a sickening crack, Marek's wrist snapped, sending the bone-corrosive nail clattering to the ground. Marek's eyes widened in shock at the sudden apparition. Before roaring, Zion, Zion, how could he have emerged from seclusion so abruptly? I looked up at him through tear-blurred vision, clad in spotless white robes. He stood shielding me, vowing to protect me. A warmth blossomed in my chest. So this is what it feels like to be protected. Zion was furious. He summoned his life-bound obsidian sword, pointing its tip at Merrick. Merrick, how dare you insult my wife? You're asking for death. The two engaged in fierce combat, though not at a disadvantage. Zion clearly suffered from his forced emergence. His movements grew slightly sluggish, and his breathing became uneven. I saw it with my own eyes, my heart pounding with anxiety. I was just about to step in and help, but suddenly, Juno clutched her stomach and doubled over in pain, her face turning deathly pale. The witch doctor knelt on the ground, trembling uncontrollably. Juno lifted her head with difficulty. What did you say? The witch doctor took her pulse and said the baby's heartbeat was fading. What do you mean the baby's dead? Juno sat frozen on the ground, tears streaming down her cheeks. I rushed over and yanked the witch doctor up by the collar. What are you standing there for? Save my sister. A dead fetus can be replaced. Save the mother. A dying fetus left untended would drain every last ounce of life force from its mother. The witch doctor snapped out of it and sprang into action. Merrick realized too late that his child was gone, and flew into a rage. He pinned all the blame on me. Clove, how dare you sever my demonic lineage? I'll have your head. His eyes burned with murderous frenzy, like a beast ready to devour me whole. The whip lashed out like black lightning, carrying devastating force toward me. Zion stepped beside me and effortlessly parried Marek's attack with a single flick of his obsidian sword. He reassured me, your sister's pregnancy was fragile from the start. This wasn't your fault. Don't blame yourself. In my past life, the entire demon realm condemned me. They accused me of failing to bear the demon prince, calling me an ill omen. For the longest time, I believed their words to be true. I only discovered the truth when I tapped into the ancestral power of Nua's bloodline at death's door. Merrick was born a demonic entity. His overwhelming dark energy caused low sperm viability, making it impossible to produce anything but stillborn offspring with a demigod descendant of Nua. Yet no one would believe this truth. They'd rather blame me, Nua's descendant, than question their own demon realm's dark sovereign. In my past life, I lost myself in a storm of criticism, but this time I won't let my sister follow in my footsteps. I turned to Merrick. If you still want this child, let me perform the healing ritual on Clove. My sister and I are twin souls, each other's perfect remedy. I channeled a drop of heart's blood into my sister's body, secretly lacing it with fragments of my past life's memories. Sister, our ancestor Nua dared to defy the injustice of the divine realm and was stripped of her godhood. Now, we are both her descendants. I trust you'll make the right choice. Merrick left with Juno. The sea of blood before me seemed to drag me back into the past. When I first delivered a stillborn child, Merrick stormed out in fury without offering me a single word of comfort. My spiritual energy was slowly drained by that lifeless child, each passing moment an unending torment, yet not a soul in the demon palace dared extend me aid. In despair, I severed the bond between my child and myself with my own hands. My heart felt like it was being torn apart. I was sobbing uncontrollably, tears streaming down like scattered pearls. Zion froze in place, startled by my crying. He had no idea how to comfort someone, just standing there helplessly. As Hans struggled to his feet, he saw his master had made the mistress cry. He was about to mock the old man when a glance at his master's face made him gasp, "Master, am I seeing things? You're actually crying." My vision blurred with tears as I looked at Zion. His stern face was silhouetted against the sunlight, glistening teardrops spilling from the corners of his eyes. My tears stopped flowing for no apparent reason. Zion later told me it broke his heart to see me in pain. It happened to be the Dragon Boat Festival in the mortal realm. Hans insisted on joining the human world's festivities. "Master and Madam, you're both injured and shouldn't be training right now. Please come with me, Madam. I'm begging you. Talk Master into it." Feeling intrigued, I looked up at Zion for confirmation. Lately his expressions had become more animated, and he agreed with a furrowed brow. Zion and I suppressed our spiritual powers, disguising ourselves as a middle-aged mortal couple. Then I noticed something. The aloof celestial deity, whose hands once commanded all creation, couldn't even tie a simple dumpling string. After much struggle, he finally secured one, only for it to instantly unravel, scattering glutinous rice and red beans everywhere. A flicker of confusion and frustration flashed through Zion's eyes. 3. He asked why I was smiling, and I said I just realized how adorable he is. A faint blush flashed across Zion's face. I took his hand to teach him, and while he learned all afternoon, I got to hold his hand the whole time. We strolled through the market hanging mugwort leaves, sat by the river enjoying the night view, squeezed into the crowd to watch lion dances, and listened to mortals tell tales of immortals. Zion isn't much of a talker, but he always shows up when needed. Just like last time, he broke through his training to protect me in the nick of time. He promised to stay by my side forever. I giggled and called him my lord. He paused for a moment before responding with a gentle smile. Zion is responsible and kind. If we had a child, he'd surely make a wonderful divine father. Pity he follows the path of emotionless asceticism. Once Zion regains his spiritual power, these mortal sentiments will fade from his memory. Upon returning to Wudao Mountain, I received a message talisman from my sister. She had heard the message I left in my heart's blood. At first she didn't believe me, suspecting I fabricated lies out of jealousy to slander Merrick. I gave him a cool glance, until she accidentally overheard Merrick conversing with the witch doctor. Merrick ordered the witch doctor to perform dark magic on her, forcibly implanting a child within her womb. He made it clear that if forced to choose, the child's life must be prioritized. Juno clutched her slightly swollen abdomen in disbelief. She refused to believe Merrick saw her as nothing more than a breeding vessel. I let out a bitter laugh. In my past life, I loved Merrick deeply too, though he often hit and scolded me. Those nights when he gently stroked my hair and whispered comforting words made all the pain melt away. Time and again, I chose to forgive him. Only in the end did I realize that genuine love doesn't always beget genuine love. All those sweet nothings, those moments that made me lose myself, they were nothing but Marik's carefully crafted facade. Marik's kindness toward me had only one purpose. He wanted me to bear him a child of immense power, an heir worthy of the new world's throne. Juno said she wanted to give Marik one final chance. Through her efforts, things finally seem to be taking a turn for the better. Every day brings fresh news to my ears. The Demon King spared no effort in gathering rare treasures for his queen, hosting lavish feasts time and again. As Juno's belly grew day by day, Merrick doted on her more than ever. Merrick proclaimed to the realm, "My son's talents shall shake the heavens and earth. He will become the pride of our demonic realm, leading our people toward an even more glorious future." He grew increasingly convinced his child would possess the heavenly spirit root and become the lord of the new realm. I often felt exhausted, dozing off throughout the day. This foggy state persisted for ages until one day during sword practice, I nearly lost my balance and collapsed. Zion carried me back to my chamber and summoned a healer, who astonishingly declared I was with child. The healer accidentally unlocked my sealed memories, allowing me to recall the events of my tribulation day. I was in an extremely unusual state at that time, overcome with uncontrollable feverish heat. I clung desperately to Zion, refusing to let go. We spent the night entangled in passion. The sudden arrival of this child left me at a complete loss. I often sit motionless in a daze, unable to even focus on my cultivation. I gaze upon this tiny life. Will he be a healthy child, or will he be another simpleton? What kind of future can I possibly give him? In contrast, Zion comes across as remarkably mature. He often comforts me, and one day I even caught him secretly reading parenting books. He's quietly preparing for fatherhood. I asked him, "Would you mind if our child turns out ordinary and never becomes the ruler of New Eden?" He shook his head, saying overthinking does no good, but I just can't help it. I can't stop worrying. If this child turns out incompetent, would they be abandoned again? As the months passed, my belly grew more pronounced, but I still can't help overthinking, especially in the dead of night. Memories from past lives flood my mind, jolting me awake from nightmares. Thankfully, in this life I have Zion by my side. Whenever I wake up frightened, he always soothes me back to sleep with gentle back rubs to ease my mind. Zion even gathered adorable children's clothes from the mortal world. Meanwhile, Juno also became pregnant. My child with Zion was born before Marik's. Merrick had already shown an almost obsessive interest in Zion's child. When he heard we had a child before him, his jealousy reached its peak. That's hardly surprising. In his past life, Zion's child was a prodigy with celestial roots, causing heavenly phenomena at birth. Legend has it that on that day, the Five Peaks Mountain, bathed in radiant light as all beasts bowed in reverence, tens of thousands of spirit birds flocked from every direction, circling the mountain for 3 days and nights before reluctantly departing. All acknowledged that Zion's heir shall become the undisputed ruler of the cultivation world, the sovereign lord of the new realm. As Merrick approached Mount Wudao, his murderous intent grew so intense he wished to slaughter every spirit bird in sight. Yet when he witnessed the celestial omens Accompanying my child's birth, he suddenly threw back his head and roared with laughter. A mere handful of spirit birds, a wisp of rosy clouds, compared to my previous life. This is downright shabby. Still uneasy, he immediately summoned someone to test our child's spiritual roots. When Merrick learned our child possessed chaotic 5-element roots, he was ecstatic. To produce such trash. Clove, you're truly no different from your past life. Thank heavens I didn't choose you, seeing my child was worthless. Merrick became even more convinced all our past life troubles were my fault. He was utterly convinced his own child would possess a celestial spirit root, with unparalleled cultivation potential. To cement his status, he began broadcasting this news far and wide. He kept boasting that his child was the future overlord of the new territories. He sent invitations to all factions, summoning deities to witness the birth of the future ruler of the new territories. He wanted the whole world to share his joy. At last, Marik's child was born. At that moment, heaven and earth seemed to tremble with emotion. Blood-red light pierced the sky as ominous clouds gathered, foreboding ill fortune. The gathered gods witnessed this omen for the first time, exchanging bewildered glances in silent confusion. This bore no resemblance to an auspicious sign. At that very moment, a deafening thunderbolt struck with earth-shattering force. Immediately after, a newborn's cries pierced the air as the infant entered the world. Merrick stepped inside, and his pupils contracted sharply when his gaze fell upon the sight. The child before him bore 4 arms and 4 legs, a grotesque aberration from human norms, as if some eldritch creature had crawled straight out of ancient mythology. Monster, monster, a witch doctor shrieked as he rushed forward, his trembling finger pointing at the deformed child. The dark concubine has birthed an abomination. Marik's brow furrowed, a glint of ice flashing in his eyes. With a sudden swipe of his palm, he struck the shrieking witch doctor unconscious. So what if it's a monster? Disgusting as it may be, sheer power makes it the rightful ruler of the new realm. At worst, we'll just sever its hideous limbs. Merrick barked. Guards, test the child's spiritual roots. Against all expectations, the child possessed no spiritual roots whatsoever. The gathered deities murmured in astonishment. Never had they witnessed such a malformed child, let alone one devoid of spiritual roots. In the cultivation world, what difference remains between man and beast when one lacks spiritual roots? This child couldn't possibly be the prophesied sovereign of the new realm. The demon god staged this grand spectacle only to make fools of us all. Amidst the jeering crowd, Marik's face grew increasingly grim. He violently hurled the child onto the ground. Impossible. This abomination isn't my child. Juno, what the hell is going on? She must have conceived it with another man. Merrick would rather slander his wife's virtue than admit his own incompetence. The child jolted awake in pain, his eyes clouded like those of a centenarian. How dare a mere minor deity drop this exalted god? Merrick frowned and kicked the useless child away. No spiritual roots, and addled to boot. I won't take this child. The child howled in pain, tumbling through the air before crashing heavily to the ground. Not unconscious, Juno awoke to the screams, opening her eyes just in time to see Merrick raising a blade to kill her child. Juno lunged forward and snatched the child from Marik's grasp. This is our child. You can't kill him. Yet when she saw the deformed child in her arms, her body trembled with terror. The child slipped from her hands and fell to the ground. The child cried out in pain. I am the heavenly Tao. How dare you treat me this way? I froze. No one answered him. Everyone thought the child had gone mad. Juno frantically bent down to pick up the child, though frightened. She couldn't abandon her own flesh and blood. She clutched the child tightly, weeping uncontrollably, her heart drowning in boundless grief and despair. How could her child be like this? Merrick stared coldly at Juno and the deformed child, his eyes glinting with murderous intent. Though he didn't act immediately, Juno knew Merrick would abandon the child. She'd have to find a way alone. Juno begged me for help. Merrick couldn't accept that the child was useless, so he declared the child dead to the public. To rid himself of the burden, he heartlessly abandoned the child in a perilous snake pit, leaving him to his fate. When Juno went to rescue the child, she found even the snakes refused to go near him. She had mixed feelings. I was startled when I saw that child too. The kid looked bizarre and spoke even stranger. Zion stood aside with an unreadable expression. Juno hung her head. On the night of the demon clan's full moon ceremony, Merrick promised to take me to the Moonview Tower for a surprise. Little did I know he'd lure me into a magic circle. After that, my belly began to swell. The witch doctor forced the child's birth through dark rituals. That's why I came out monstrous, my fists clenched. In my past life, Merrick lured me into a blood ritual array at Moonstep Pavilion, forcing me to bear a disabled child. Now in this lifetime, he's pulling the same trick on Juno. How despicable. I told Juno not to worry. I'll help take care of the child from now on. At that moment, Zion suddenly spoke, staring at the child. He said slowly, this child should have died long ago. He set up the soul manifestation array, then placed the child at its center. After lighting an incense stick, he began chanting incantations. A ghostly blue soul slowly rose from the child's body, gradually coalescing into a distinct form. To my astonishment, the condensed spirit wasn't a child, but a wizened old man. The elder introduced himself as Master Tinshio. Why did you possess this child's body? I demanded. The old man's soul quivered faintly. He claimed Merrick had ruined him. The demon sovereign Merrick proclaimed his child would surely possess celestial spiritual roots. Believing this, the man hastily possessed the infant's body, hoping to rise again through this vessel. To his horror, the child turned out to be both rootless and deformed. This came as a devastating blow to celestial cultivator Didnt. Furious, he cursed Merrick, convinced he'd been deceived. Damn you, Merrick, how dare you trick me? That voice was unmistakable. I'd recognize it across lifetimes, for, indeed, this was the heavenly Tao itself, that supreme arbiter presiding over all life and death. He made no attempt to conceal. That's right, I am your heavenly Tao. Pursued by enemies, he had fallen from the higher cultivation realm to this world, desperately in need of a worthy vessel. Thus, he fabricated the lie of a heavenly arranged marriage. This was all his scheme to breed the ultimate vessel. He fused the bloodlines of the mightiest immortals and demons to create a perfect body for his soul theft. Rage burned through me as I faced the heavens' will, utterly remorseless, but we couldn't kill him. He's a higher life form, far beyond our power. Merrick materialized before the crowd without a sound. Celestial Master Didnt spotted Merrick and immediately berated him. You worthless trash with such feeble essence. You're not even fit to be called a man, can't even father a child. I lowered my head. Didnt's words ignited Merrick's fury, his face turning ashen with eyes blazing like angry fire. What nonsense is this fake heavenly Tao spouting? The celestial cultivator claimed to have entered the deformed child's body, sharing its birth memories. You couldn't conceive a child due to weak vital essence, yet resorted to dark arts to spawn this abomination. How dare you announce this to the world? You've deceived me utterly. Merrick clenched his jaw, momentarily speechless. That's not true. Merrick was furious. He'd been insulted. They'd made a complete fool of him. He became the laughingstock of the demon realm. He thought he'd sired a prodigy, only to birth a freak, now mocked by both demons and gods alike. Everyone ridicules the demon god Merrick for his boundless arrogance. Now he's stumbled upon the truth. This so-called new realm sovereign is utter nonsense. These are all lies fabricated by that false heavenly Tao to control the world. After stealing a body, consumed by rage, he grappled fiercely with the celestial cultivator. I'll make you pay for this. Their battle was so intense it darkened the heavens and dimmed the earth. Consumed by fury, Merrick vowed to slay the heavenly Tao even at the cost of burning his lifeblood. At this critical moment, Juno lunged forward and plunged her dagger into Merrick's chest. With a vicious twist, she wrenched Merrick's still beating heart from his body. Though demons could survive without hearts, the loss rendered them severely weakened. Merrick's power drained rapidly, his form shrinking into an alarmingly fragile state. Juno bound the weakened Merrick tightly with chains. Merrick struggled. Are you insane? Release me. I am the demon god. He was the demon god, the supreme ruler of the underworld. How could he be imprisoned so easily? Juno's eyes crinkled with amusement. She whispered softly to Merrick, my lord, it turns out our childlessness was because of you all along, but it doesn't matter. I love you, even with your weakened vital essence. Juno brought Merrick back to the palace and drained his cultivation through dual cultivation techniques. In the end, Juno successfully absorbed all of Merrick's cultivation, ascending as the new demon sovereign. That day I went to the dungeon to see Merrick. He begged me to save him. He claimed to be reborn, insisting I'd loved him in a past life and wouldn't abandon him to suffer. He also mentioned we had a child in our past life, not deformed, just a bit slow-witted but utterly devoted to him. He deeply regrets not treating the child better. But Merrick, I'm a reincarnated soul too. Some things, once lost, are gone forever. Zion and I took the heavenly Tao away, sealing it within Mount Wudo using ancient mountain arrays. One day 5 years later, auspicious clouds swirled as radiant energy filled the air. All living things between heaven and earth seemed to heed some mystical call, bowing their heads in unison. A spectacle of birds paying homage to the phoenix unfolded above Mount Wudo. Mount Wudo was bathed in golden light, standing against the horizon like a mountain of gold. Like a fairyland, on Mount Wudo, Zion's child and I achieved a breakthrough. The lightning tribulation he faced was unprecedented. The heavenly tribulation was so overwhelmingly powerful that its shockwaves reverberated across the entire realm, astonishing even the gods themselves. They retested his spiritual roots. To everyone's astonishment, he didn't possess mixed spiritual roots at all, but rather a rare and formidable singular root containing the essence of all 5 elemental forces. He was the true prodigy all along. Upon hearing the news, Merrick was so consumed by regret that his core exploded in the dungeon, killing him instantly. Legend says his dying words were a vow to be reborn. When our child reached enlightenment, they shattered the heavenly Tao and forged a path to the upper realm for all living beings. Pity Zion, and I missed it. We'd already slipped back to the mortal world, masquerading as an ordinary couple. Another dragon boat festival has arrived. The air is filled with the aroma of Zonzi and the fresh scent of mugwort. Zion picked up a piece of mugwort mochi and fed it to me. My eyes widened in delight as I exclaimed, "Red bean and sesame filling, so sweet." He chuckled. "Oh really?" I rose on my toes to kiss him until we were both breathless. "Sweet?" I asked between breaths. "Let me taste that again." He murmured. Story 2, Chapter 1. My husband won 200 million yuan in the lottery. So we both quit our jobs and planned to take our daughter back to our hometown to live a carefree life with his parents. When we arrived at their doorstep, my husband playfully texted his father that he had lost his job and came back home to escape the hustle and bustle. Unexpectedly, his parents and younger brother joined forces to shut us out, coinciding with an apocalyptic snowstorm. Our family of 3 froze to death in the icy wilderness. My husband and I were both reborn, this time. I want to see if 200 million worth of supplies can truly have the last laugh. Honey, why aren't you answering the phone? Honey, I'm going to pick up our daughter. You must wait for me at home. Don't go anywhere. Seeing the incessant messages from my husband Alden on my phone, I shivered in disbelief. Today's outdoor temperature peaked at 33 degrees, yet my legs trembled as if I'd fallen into an ice cellar. I hurried to the living room and turned the air conditioning up to 23 degrees. Sitting on the sofa, I still felt chilled to the bone. Only after pulling over a nearby small blanket and wrapping myself in its soft warmth did I begin to regain my composure. Looking at everything before me, the cozy home, the happy family portrait of 3, the calendar-adorned feature wall, I shed tears of emotion. July 21st, 2024. I can't believe I've actually been reborn. Reborn on the very day my husband won the 200 million lottery. Reborn 7 days before the blizzard arrived. I didn't have time to reply to Alden's text, so I directly ordered a family hot pot set meal on my phone, followed by fried rice with eggs, Kwoto rice noodles, lamb soup, and more. After placing these orders, I glanced at the list and still felt it wasn't enough, so I bought at least 10 days worth of meat and vegetables for our family of 3 on the Fresh Grocery app. The moment my husband and daughter Celine came home and opened the door, I rushed over and hugged them both. My daughter Celine, innocent and unaware, couldn't help but scream at the sight of the feast on the table. "Mom, did we strike it rich?" I thought of my lovely and sensible daughter from the previous life, who lay cold in my arms bit by bit, and my eyes reddened once more as I choked out a reply to her. "Even if Mom hasn't struck it rich, I'll still buy you whatever you want to eat, okay?" The child, still young and easily tempted by food, dashed off to the dining room in a flash. It was then that I noticed my husband Alden hadn't spoken a word since entering the house. Just as I looked up at him, he pulled me tightly into his embrace once again. "Amara, you've suffered so much." Chapter 2. Before I could process the meaning of his words, he murmured again, "This time we're not leaving, we'll stay in our own home." I immediately realized he had been reborn too. I urgently pushed his shoulder and asked, "Alden, have you also?" His dazed eyes gradually cleared up. We exchanged a glance, and suddenly he burst into endless laughter, sweeping me off my feet and spinning me around several times in celebration. This made Celine giggle in the living room while covering her eyes. "Mommy and Daddy, so embarrassing," blushing. I pushed him twice. "The child is watching." He also grew embarrassed, setting me down before heading to the kitchen to fetch bowls and chopsticks. Our family of 3 happily enjoyed a hot pot meal together, and throughout the dinner, Alden and I exchanged countless knowing glances. The joy of surviving a disaster and being able to live with the one we love filled both of us. And it wasn't until we had lulled our daughter to sleep that we began to discuss our next steps. On this very day in our previous life, Alden won a 200 million yuan jackpot with the lottery ticket he bought. We were just as overjoyed then, because as an orphan, I had always regarded my husband's parents as my own. After we got married, both of them couldn't wait to share this tremendous joy with their parents-in-law, and even submitted their resignations to the company overnight, preparing to return to their hometown to give them a surprise. Right at the doorstep, the husband got playful and called his father, saying he had lost his job and wanted to come home for a while. Hearing obvious sounds of people inside, we expected a warm and joyous welcome, but instead were met with a cold shower. "Alden, it's better if you don't come back recently. We've given the old family house to your younger brother for his wedding." Father-in-law's words caught both of us completely off guard, and my husband's luggage dropped to the ground with a loud thud. "Dad, that's my house. How could you make such a decision without even discussing it with me?" My husband's brows furrowed tightly as he said helplessly, "And Talon is getting married. How come I didn't know?" I patted Alden's back to comfort him while scanning the shoes left at the doorway. When I looked up, I suddenly realized the original key lock had been replaced with a digital keypad. I quickly shot Alden a meaningful glance, which only fueled his anger further. He yelled into the phone, "How could you even change the lock without telling us? All we got was my father-in-law's icy remark." "Alden, there's no need for you to shout at me here. This house isn't even under your name. I said I'm giving it to your younger brother, and that's final." Chapter 3. Yes, my husband was cheated by a trusted business partner years ago and ended up on the credit blacklist. When we first bought this house, my husband wanted to put it under my name but was stopped by my mother-in-law. They said since we 2 young people don't often stay in our hometown, it would be troublesome if we suddenly needed to handle some procedures and had to rush back. My husband and I thought it made sense, but we were afraid my mother-in-law would be unhappy if we only wrote my father-in-law's name, so we added both their names. Looking back now, I'm afraid they had already made up their minds at that time. What they didn't know is that since the civil code was implemented, the property ownership policy has changed. It's no longer the case that whoever's name is on the property deed owns the property. Since this property wasn't purchased outright, my husband initially thought we should keep some cash on hand, so we only paid the down payment. He then transferred money into his mother's account every month for automatic mortgage deductions, and these transaction records can be verified through bank statements. Getting the house back is inevitable. It's just a bit troublesome. We might even have to go to court. I looked at my husband worriedly, afraid he might soften, but unexpectedly he said to me firmly, "From now on, only our little family will be my real home." Thinking of his biased parents again, Alden gritted his teeth in resentment. Since childhood I've felt they preferred my younger brother, but now they even want to give him the house I bought. I felt angry and sad for him, but understanding the current situation, I advised, right now, things like houses aren't the most important. Alden's expression darkened instantly. In our previous life, when the blizzard hit, all shops and hotels closed, leaving us with money but no shelter, ultimately freezing to death on the streets. He immediately sat up and began planning a preparation list for the coming blizzard. Alden specializes in handling reports with remarkable efficiency, producing a 30-plus page list in just half an hour. However, I wasn't idle either. The blizzard from my previous life nearly engulfed the entire city, with snow accumulating up to 6 or 7 stories high, although we lived on the 17th floor. Having died too early in my past life, I had no idea when this blizzard would finally end, so whether it would bury our home remained uncertain, but we had to be prepared for the possibility. I always knew that Unit 3203 on the 32nd floor of the same building layout had a sick mother who urgently needed to sell the apartment for medical expenses. The young lady seemed nice, and I'd seen her decoration style, which I quite liked, so I sent her a message. She instantly replied, "Sister Amara, is someone around you looking to buy a house?" Upon learning it was me who wanted to buy, she was very surprised, but I also kept my wits about me, mysteriously explaining to her that I had consulted a master fortune teller who said the feng shui of this floor was bad and would affect financial luck, hence wanting to sell and change houses. We scheduled to view her house tomorrow, and also booked several renovation teams online to reinforce doors, windows, and install heating systems. After all, when the blizzard hits, temperatures can drop to minus 20-something degrees Celsius. I definitely don't want to experience all my limbs freezing stiff again, unable to move, and being frozen to death standing helplessly in place. After finishing these tasks, I sidled up to Alden again and glimpsed the page on his phone. It was the social media post my mother-in-law had just shared. The photo shows a group picture of my father-in-law, mother-in-law, and younger brother-in-law, with the caption, "Happy weekend." The three of us. My husband stared despondently at his phone screen, noticed me, and immediately locked it. He gave me a gentle smile and said, "It's nothing." Seeing him like this, my heart ached with sadness, yet I didn't know how to comfort him. Those were family members he had lived with for decades, even though I had only been married to Alden for a few years. This matter weighed heavily on my mind for a long time, let alone him. I gave him an encouraging hug, then turned away to give him space to process things alone. Looking out the window, the city's nightlife was just beginning, with countless lights twinkling before my eyes. A terribly inappropriate thought crossed my mind. I wonder if the blizzard 7 days from now would still allow that heartless father-in-law, shameless mother-in-law, and despicable brother-in-law to happily spend their weekend together. Thinking of this, I sent a message to my mother-in-law saying, "Mom, it's been getting hot lately, could you mail us a few quilts?" After a long while, she replied with an okay sticker, so I added, "Please send all the thick quilts from home too, so we don't have to bother with seasonal changes." Suddenly, she sent a voice message, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "Amara, if we send all the thick quilts to you, what will we use here?" Hearing this, I immediately transferred 3,000 yuan. This time, she accepted it instantly without a single complaint. I curled my lips into a smile. You need a long line to catch a big fish, don't you? Chapter 4. Alden and I stayed up until the early hours of the morning. Not only did we order a good portion of supplies through the supermarket app, but we also bought many small items for heating and self-defense. After all, in the apocalypse, the most terrifying thing isn't natural disasters, it's human nature. The next day, I struggled to get up and went to see the apartment, satisfied with everything. I immediately called in a construction team to start the renovation. I gave the young salesgirl an extra 50,000, hoping she would move out of the house today. She took the money, probably thinking I was superstitious after listening to the fortune teller. We quickly went to the property center to complete the procedures. I paid her 4 million in full, and as she was about to rush to the hospital after receiving the money, I couldn't help but remind her, "I have connections at the Meteorological Bureau. The weather might turn cold in a couple of days, so stay warm." watching her smile at me with youthful energy, her eyes filled with joy and hope. This is all I can do. As soon as we got home, workers were moving in and out, Alden was constantly busy, and Celine sat obediently in the living room watching TV. Seeing me return, she hugged my leg and asked, "Mom, Dad said I don't have to go to school these few days. Is that true?" I patted her head and nodded. "Yes, but Celine, you still need to study properly at home, okay?" She responded with a childish okay. And I smiled in relief. Since we could be reborn, all changes were uncertain. I cannot and will not allow these uncertainties to harm my family again. Chapter 5. I tripled the payment to ensure the heating and door window installation crew finished everything within the day. Perhaps it's rare to see a boss as urgent as me. They worked very hard, skilled and honest workers, so I paid them promptly without hesitation. After seeing them off, Alden quietly leaned in and whispered in my ear, "Honey, all the supplies we purchased yesterday are downstairs. Should we move them up now?" After thinking for 2 or 3 seconds, I took out my phone to hire a housekeeping service to clean this floor, preparing to move in tonight. Then the whole family returned to the 17th floor to organize the supplies and check for any missing items. Even Celine sorted out 3 or 4 small boxes. The whole family was happily working together. What a delightful scene after counting all the fruits, vegetables, meats, instant foods we bought, along with various tools for making fires, keeping warm, and self-defense. I then ordered 2 large refrigerators and over 20 high-capacity power banks. Even after doing all this, I went further by installing surveillance cameras in the 17th floor storage room and securing all doors and windows to avoid raising suspicion. My husband and I decided to move the supplies upstairs bit by bit in the dead of night. Everything was ready except for the final push. We didn't fall into an exhausted sleep until the sky began to lighten at dawn. I was awakened by the sound of my husband and father-in-law arguing. "Talon is getting married. Why should I pay 200,000? Dad, I haven't even settled the house matter with you yet." My husband's back was turned to me, but his voice trembled with uncontrollable anger. My husband's phone was on loudspeaker, and I could hear the sounds of my mother-in-law and father-in-law fighting over the phone, followed by my mother-in-law's shrill scream. "Alden, how dare you speak to your father like that? Your family, what's wrong with helping your brother? Sell your car and your brother can get married with that 200,000. Listen to me, Alden, we've sacrificed everything to raise you, and if you don't transfer the money within 2 days, just see how I'll make a scene at your company." My husband sneered coldly. "Let me tell you, I'm taking back the house in our hometown. As for the 200,000, keep dreaming." After saying that, he hung up. I watched as the tall, imposing man crouched down and curled into a ball. A mix of bitterness and sorrow churned in my heart. I stepped forward, snatched his phone, and blocked his parents and younger brother in one swift move, then did the same on my own phone. Immediately, I took out my newly created phone number and sent a lone text message to my brother-in-law. "I don't know if Talon, that lazy bloodsucker, is really getting married, but knowing his nature, he would definitely borrow this sum of money, because this wasn't the first time Talon gambled and played mahjong for large sums, and my husband had already settled several loans for him. Every time, it was the same old trick. His parents would come crying to us, pleading with tears and snot, swearing he would never do it again. My husband has a soft heart and always helps clean up his messes, but I know this time will be different. Talon indeed contacted me that same afternoon, asking to borrow 250,000. I immediately sent him a loan link. This loan link was created by me, with legitimate channels, and absolutely no issues or contractual loopholes. I'm absolutely certain that idiot Gu Jiaqing either didn't read it or didn't read it carefully, foolishly thinking that no matter what outrageous things he did or debts he incurred, someone would always clean up his mess. Watching the 250,000 yuan deducted from my bank card, I knew my father-in-law and mother-in-law would soon come looking for my husband again. I told my husband, and he looked at me hesitantly. I squeezed his palm and said, "Just wait and see." Chapter 6. 3 days later, Talon deleted and blocked me with a series of actions. I had already anticipated he would do this and prepared a backup plan. I contacted the owner of a gym in my hometown where I had previously purchased a membership, asking him to cooperate with me in staging a debt-collecting scene. The more thuggish the better, with me covering the financial costs. At first, he was somewhat hesitant, so I directly transferred 30,000 yuan to him. Half an hour later, he sent me a photo. It was right at my doorstep. I sighed inwardly, thinking how money really makes the world go round. A little while later, my husband's phone rang. My husband and I exchanged glances before answering the call, only to hear chaotic noises on the other end. There was the furious scolding of the father-in-law, the wailing and screaming of the mother-in-law, and another voice I couldn't identify, shrilly cursing Talon as a liar. The voices intertwined, And after a long silence, a painful howl came from the other end of the phone. "Bro, you've got to help me this time," he said. "If I can't pay back the money, he'll break my hands and legs." The last shred of longing and hope for family in my husband's heart was shattered, and his voice turned icy cold. "I won't pay your debts, and I have records of all the money I've given you before. Consider it a loan, and you'll pay it all back together." The other end clearly didn't expect this. Talon's voice rose several pitches, filled with anger and disbelief. "Alden, what the hell do you mean? I'm your own brother. How can you stand by and do nothing?" Then I heard my father-in-law's voice roaring on the other end. "Alden, you heartless man, if you don't pay this money today, you're no longer part of the Gu family." Hearing this, I hesitantly looked at Alden again, afraid he might waver, but Alden just let out a cold laugh. "Dad, if I were the one with over 200,000 in debt, would you go to such lengths for me?" Then my mother-in-law's voice immediately chimed in, softening her tone as she cried pitifully. "Son, you're both the flesh of my heart. When your father and I pass away someday, won't it just be you brothers looking out for each other? Amara, are you nearby? Quick, talk some sense into Alden." Suddenly being called out, I let out an awkward laugh, then abruptly slapped myself and playfully picked up the phone to say to the screen, "Mom, Alden hit me." My husband beside me was instantly dumbfounded, and I quickly went ouch a few times before hanging up the call. Alden immediately tenderly touched my face in concern, and I gave him a sly smile. "Actually, I just hit my own hand." The two of us looked at each other, hugging and laughing uncontrollably. Chapter 7. I instructed the gym owner to teach Talon a lesson, making sure he'd be bedridden for at least 10 days to half a month. Saying this, I transferred another 50,000 to him. True to his word, he gave Talon a bruised and battered face, with some slight deformities visible on his arm. However, I didn't show any of this to Alden. There's actually a reason why I hate Talon so much, because he once came dangerously close to assaulting me. This matter is like a thorn buried deep in my heart, something I can't tell anyone about, something I must keep to myself. It was the second year of my marriage to Alden when he had to rush back overnight during the new year because of an issue with the payroll reports. At that time, I was pregnant with Celine and couldn't travel easily, so I didn't go with him. My in-laws had gone to visit relatives, and due to the heavy rain, they had to stay overnight there. That night, Talon got drunk. I had fallen asleep early when Talon stumbled drunkenly into my room like a starving wolf spotting its prey, making me scream in terror. He inched closer and closer toward me, until it ended with me smashing a photo frame against his head. The torrential rain outside pattered against the window, mirroring that very scene. I dare not recall it again. After staring blankly for quite some time, I finally realized it was raining. In my past life, the snow had begun with a rainstorm. I quickly checked my phone's weather app and sure enough, it showed light snow would start in 2 hours. Could it be that the blizzard arrived earlier than expected? I urgently called my husband, and our family moved from the 17th floor to the 23rd floor to prepare for this apocalyptic blizzard. Just as expected, when people first saw snow in July, they all said it came just in time to cool down the summer heat. Media outlets are vying to cover this extraordinary snow, but only I know that this snowfall will last for at least a month, growing heavier until the entire city is buried under a vast white expanse. After 3 days and nights of continuous snowfall, some people finally began to realize something was wrong. Hashtag July blizzard, hashtag natural disaster, hashtag human pollution will eventually face punishment, hashtag mom I don't want to die. When multiple doomsday-related negative hashtags topped the trending list, my husband, daughter, and I were enjoying a delicious hot pot at home, watching the vast white scenery outside, living our usual happy and peaceful family life. At first, my in-laws would bombard us with messages from various phone numbers, threatening us. When they saw that neither soft nor hard tactics worked on us, they started pleading, but after several days of continuous blizzard, they finally behaved. Perhaps they realized there wasn't a single thick quilt in the house and cried from the cold, or maybe with several mouths to feed, they found no food left and started pushing each other out of hunger. I wonder if my in-laws have realized the true nature of their scumbag son yet. Thinking of this, I suddenly opened my phone and found an app one hadn't used in ages. I almost forgot about this. My mother-in-law once went into shock due to post-surgery complications when no one was home. If the door hadn't been left open and the neighbor hadn't found her collapsed, she wouldn't be alive today. Afterwards, Alden suggested installing home surveillance to monitor their safety in real time. This app was downloaded together with that system, and now the subscription has even expired. Without hesitation, I topped up 200 credits for membership. After just a dozen seconds of loading, the live feed from the other side came through in real time. To my surprise, there was someone unexpected sitting in the living room. It was my junior high classmate Zayden, whom I didn't have a good impression of. Fighting, ostracizing, bullying, she was notorious for each of these at school. We originally had no connection, until that day when I accidentally overheard her and her girlfriends discussing which delinquent guy at the school gate was hotter, and got caught. Zayden, as the leader of the female gang, immediately tried to slap me to assert dominance, having grown up tough in an Orphanage. How could I be afraid of her amateurish moves? So she gained nothing from me, and even lost face in front of all her girlfriends. As a result, she targeted me throughout middle school, spreading nasty rumors about me, stealing my exam papers, splashing red paint on my seat. Her father was a high-ranking official in town, while I was just a charity case from the orphanage. There was no comparison. And no one stood up for me. Knowing I couldn't win, I endured her bullying again and again, until junior high when I got into the city's key high school. She went to a vocational school in town, and we lost contact from then on. Probably never expected to see her again in such a peculiar way, though I'm also curious why she's here. As I was pondering, the conversation among the group gave me the answer. Chapter 8. Zayden was seen sitting on the sofa crying while on the phone, presumably with her father. Dad, come pick me up and take me home. This Talon is nothing but a liar. The person on the other end seemed to say something, and Zayden immediately stopped crying. Hanging up the phone, she turned to Talon on the other side of the sofa and yelled, "You damn liar whose whole family is dead. Just wait till my dad comes to deal with you." Talon looked pale and emaciated at this point, with something fixed to his hand using a tile, probably a fractured hand, lying on the sofa. Though weak, he kept retorting, "You damn bitch, who are you to judge me? If it weren't for your family demanding a 200,000 betrothal gift, would I have ended up like this?" Zayden clearly didn't expect him to say that and immediately stood up shouting, "Talon, you shameless bastard. Back then you pretended to be a humble and polite rich kid outside, but in reality, you're just a maggot that even shit wouldn't want." It suddenly dawned on me. After all, Zayden's family comes from a line of officials, so there's no way they'd ever take a liking to Talon, that lazy good-for-nothing. Turns out he was just packaging himself as a rich kid, a dog. Can't stop itself from eating shit. Zayden was still rambling on, and before I could even react, another figure appeared on the surveillance feed and slapped Zayden hard across the face. "You shameless little wretch, who are you cursing to die?" the mother-in-law shrieked with a trembling voice. I was stunned. The mother-in-law's slap rang out sharply, nearly knocking Zayden to the ground as he staggered several times before regaining his balance. How could she ever tolerate such humiliation? She immediately began grappling with the mother-in-law. Two women made for quite a scene, but clearly the experienced mother-in-law had the upper hand, grabbing Zayden's hair and dragging her to the floor. "You old bastard, just wait till my dad comes and sees how he'll beat you to death." Zayden kept struggling. "Talon, you have no heart. Look how your mom is hitting me like this." Talon had just been humiliated by her and was in a foul mood. Seeing her strike him, a smirk appeared on his face. "What the hell are you? Go call your dad to beat me up then. There's a blizzard raging outside. Go cry for your mommy and daddy. How dare you still squat in my house, you filthy bitch. Look what you've done to my son. Why don't you take a good look at what kind of scum your son is? Your whole family should drop dead." I really think Zayden needs to change his habit of being verbally aggressive when he's right. It's snowing heavily outside, and instead of being grateful for staying at someone else's place, he dares to scold like this. I can't even imagine how that whole family will treat her. As soon as I finished speaking, my mother-in-law started punching her in the abdomen, each blow harder than the last, while dragging her towards the door. "You worthless slut, still demanding 200,000 in bride price. Get out of my house." Zayden suddenly went limp and collapsed, his face pale and unable to speak. Seeing the genuine pain on Zayden's face, alarm bells immediately went off in my head, and I quickly switched my phone to screen recording mode. The mother-in-law was still dragging her at this point. Seeing her like this, she gloated triumphantly. "What are you pretending for here? Think you're so capable? A filthy bitch like you dares to strut around my house, watching this absurd family." I was just about to close the screen recording and exit the app. Chapter 9. Suddenly, I spotted Zayden. She's bleeding down there, logically speaking, being punched a few times by her mother-in-law. Should at worst result in a rib fracture. Zayden is clearly pregnant like this, but now the continuous flow of blood from beneath her has panicked both people watching the surveillance footage. The mother-in-law immediately dropped her arrogant demeanor and crouched down to check on her, exclaiming in shock, "You're pregnant." At these words, I saw Talon immediately sit up. "Zayden, you're pregnant," the father-in-law, hearing the commotion in the living room, now appeared on the surveillance feed. The family of three waited quietly for Zayden's response, as his weak voice slowly spoke up. "Yes, the doctor also said it's a baby boy." The mother-in-law immediately widened her eyes and slapped her own thigh. "Oh my little ancestor, why didn't you say so earlier, my precious grandson?" Hearing this, the father-in-law also tightly furrowed his brows, his fingers constantly waving in the air as he pointed at his wife. "You old hag, why must you meddle with your daughter-in-law? You rushed to be a nanny for that money-losing girl born to the eldest son's family, but this pregnancy is a grandson. Do you want our Gu family line to end with no heirs?" The mother-in-law, knowing she was in the wrong, shed tears of regret and stopped speaking further. Hearing them call Celine a money-losing girl made my blood boil with anger. I always knew they wanted a grandson. When I gave birth to Celine, my mother-in-law took good care of me at first, but as soon as she saw it was a girl, the Quality of the postpartum meals immediately dropped. Fortunately, Alden dotes on Celine, and the elderly couple maintained appearances on the surface. I just assumed it was old-fashioned thinking on their part. Looking back now, they probably had many complaints about me already. Talon reacted the most strongly, staring at the large pool of blood on the floor. He muttered, my son, my son." Immediately, he rushed forward and pushed the mother-in-law aside, helping Zayden up, staggered by his push. The mother-in-law fell against the TV cabinet, hitting her head on its sharp corner, wailing, "Ouch." However, at this moment, both Talon and the father-in-law were focused on Zayden, completely disregarding her condition. I silently thought it was bad. The mother-in-law had undergone brain surgery before, and at her age, this impact was definitely not going to end well. At first, my mother-in-law could still moan a few times, but as time passed, I watched her lying on the floor, her body tilted to one side. I quickly called my husband, and the moment he saw the scene, he dropped everything and immediately picked up the phone to call his father. Watching the chaotic and panicked family in the surveillance footage, I felt genuine heartache for my husband, but unexpectedly, when the call went through, Talon heard it and roared on the other end, "Alden, you fucking spied on me. If it weren't for you refusing to give me 200,000, would I have been reduced to borrowing money? You're living it up in the big city. What's wrong with giving me 200,000? Your wife gave birth to a worthless slut, a money-losing burden. Now my son has lost his life because of it. I'll avenge my son. You fucking wait and see. How dare you surveil me, you fucking idiot." As he spoke, he rushed to the surveillance camera, his demon-like face suddenly magnified on my phone screen as he viciously yanked out the monitor. Meanwhile, my screen flickered unsteadily before displaying a connection error within moments. I quickly turned off the screen recording and rushed to comfort Alden. "We've been brothers since childhood. How did it come to this?" He curled up, wrapping his arms around himself. I held him tightly in my arms as Celine ran over and said understandingly, "Daddy, don't be sad. Let Celine blow it better for you." My husband looked up with reddened eyes as our family embraced tightly. I comforted him. "This will pass. You have us here with you." Chapter 10. Time passed quickly, and this blizzard came unexpectedly. Before anyone realized it, it had been snowing for nearly 2 months. Many people didn't survive this disaster because they had no food stored at home. However, now that the snowfall is decreasing day by day, many are predicting that the blizzard will soon come to an end. On this day, a long-dormant homeowners group suddenly sent a message. I clicked in and saw that the photo was sent by the owner of the 3rd floor in our building. It was actually my father-in-law and Talon in the picture. I could hardly recognize the two of them in the photo. My father-in-law, who used to have a beer belly, was now skin and bones, with no flesh on his face and deeply sunken skin. Although Talon hadn't lost much weight, one of his hands was wrapped in thick bandages, with what appeared to be dried blood stains on them. The two of them looked utterly wretched, completely devoid of their former pampered appearance from home. Then the homeowner posted again, "Whose little brother and father are these? They've been camping at my doorstep for days." This message exploded like a bomb among the residents of our building. I was too nervous to speak. The owner on the 16th floor sent a message in the group chat. "Didn't the family that used to live above me have a younger brother? 1301. Lots of people have younger brothers. You can't use that as a basis for judgment, right?" 1803 mentioned the 16th floor resident. I remember too. I even greeted them before. It should be their family. The 3rd floor owner urgently mentioned me and asked, "Your family needs to take that person back immediately." It was only then that I remembered. Neither my husband nor I had changed our names in the homeowners group chat. Just as I was at a loss, the young woman from the 23rd floor earlier spoke up in the group. "They sold the house long ago." I quickly messaged her privately, "Hello, please don't disclose our current address in the group." The other person instantly replied with an "okay" and even sent me a "thank you. Thank you so much, sis." I bought several thick blankets after listening to your advice that day. After hastily replying to her, I went back to check the group chat. Residents from the 16th and 18th floors all confirmed that there had indeed been no movement from the 17th floor these past 2 months. The 3rd floor owner grew impatient. Whether it's true or not, I just told them to go check the 17th floor. Seeing this message, my eyebrows instantly twitched in alarm. Fortunately, I had prepared a backup plan back then. Otherwise, getting entangled would have made things even more troublesome. But why didn't I see Zayden and Grandma this time? Remembering Grandma lying unconscious on the floor and Zayden bleeding from his lower body, an extremely bad premonition rose within me. Opening the 17th floor video doorbell, Talon's enlarged face was continuously pounding on the door. "Bro, Dad, and I came to see you. Open up." I played the sound very loudly, and my husband rushed over upon hearing it. I thought he would be moved, but to my surprise, he just glanced indifferently and said, "Ignore them." I turned off my phone as he suggested, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something bad was going to happen. When I woke up the next day and looked, they were already gone. How on earth did they walk over 100 kilometers from their hometown in this freezing cold? Chapter 11. The blizzard stopped without reason. As temperatures gradually rose and people cheered, this long silent city began to operate again. There was still plenty of food stored at home, but after being cooped up for too long, on the third day after confirming safety, the family of 3 decided to go out for a stroll. There were many pedestrians on the road, everyone was celebrating, and we also came to the mall ready to enjoy a good meal happily. Little did we expect, we encountered Talon in the mall. At this moment, he was disheveled and unrecognizable. Covered in filth from head to toe, my husband was about to pull us away when unexpectedly he charged straight at us. "Alden, you fucking finally showed up. Huh, where the hell have you been? Do you have any idea how much suffering Dad and I have endured?" My husband frowned and pushed him away menacingly. "Who are you?" Talon's eyes seemed to spit fire as he kept shouting loudly. Seeing the crowd of onlookers growing, his eyes suddenly shifted. He immediately sat on the floor, wailing loudly at everyone's phone cameras while pointing at our family and cursing. "It's this heartless and ungrateful family. My parents worked tirelessly to raise us brothers, and he forgot his mother the moment he got a wife. He refuses to give our parents support money. I'm incapable." And during the blizzard when my parents and I were at home with nothing left, he was happily living it up with his wife and kids. I begged him to bring us some food so my family could survive, but he just blocked and deleted me, my mother, my wife, and my poor unborn son. They all died because of his indifference. Hearing this, the husband trembled and frowned in disbelief, saying, "You mean Mom is gone?" Talon grew even more agitated, pointing at the husband and scolding, "Stop pretending now. Back then, Dad and I traveled thousands of miles, enduring countless hardships to find you, yet you shut me out and killed Dad." Suddenly, his shrill voice twisted into distortion. "Killed Dad? He died right here in this frozen wasteland." Chapter 12. My husband was panting heavily beside me. No matter what, they were his family, his own flesh and blood. "Impossible, you're fucking lying." Seeing more onlookers gathering with their phone cameras constantly pointed at us, I quickly took out my own phone to call the police while starting an audio recording. "Huh, you think saying it's impossible makes it so? This hand of mine froze and got infected on the way to find you. That's why it's gone." The more he spoke, the more pitiful he sounded, until a booming voice from the crowd began to shout, "This family of 3 has no shame at all." Immediately after, countless voices rose in accusation. My daughter Celine threw herself into my arms, crying in fright. Seeing his goal achieved, Talon immediately stood up with a beaming smile, reaching out to us and saying, "Pay up." I retorted bluntly, "Pay for what?" "Talon, I see your ability to distort the truth is getting better. Shall we check the bank accounts right now?" Talon swallowed nervously, but seeing the crowd supporting him, his audacity grew. "What's there to check? Our parents paid for this ungrateful wretch's education, yet he won't even provide them with support money." I sneered. "Forget about support money. Just talking about the red envelopes I gave Mom and Dad during holidays. I transferred 1 or 2,000 into their accounts. Never saw them treat themselves well. It all went to you, didn't it? You owe over 200,000 out there yourself, expecting your brother to clean up your mess, and you dare call my daughter a money-losing burden. You wish." The murmurs of the crowd died down as Talon panicked. "Shut the hell up. What business do women have interrupting men's talk?" The moment these words were spoken, a young woman's voice rang out from the crowd. "Oh, women aren't allowed to speak now." Talon immediately stammered in response, No, that's not what I meant." Then he lowered his voice and threatened me, "Don't you dare say another word, or I'll tear your mouth apart." Believe me, just as I was about to retort, my husband Alden stepped in front of me and our daughter, shielding us. "Talon, watch your damn mouth. Back then, Mom and Dad wanted me to buy a house for you to use as a wedding home. I disagreed, but the 3 of you conspired behind my back. Later, when you were getting married, you demanded I pay 200,000 yuan for the bride price. When I refused, you took out a loan. The interest piled up until Mom and Dad made me sell my car to pay off your debt. How many messes have I cleaned up for you since childhood, and have you ever truly treated me as your brother?" The onlookers immediately let out sighs of disbelief. "So that's how it is. How can this person twist black and white like this?" But when his dad went to look for him, he really didn't open the door. Clearly Talon heard this remark too, immediately retorting with full confidence, "Then why didn't you open the door when we came to your place?" I sneered and stepped forward. "That's because we moved out long ago. The place you mentioned has been completely vacant now." Seeing me repeatedly humiliate him again, Talon suddenly seemed to recall something. "You slut. Did it feel good when I fucked you?" Clearly unprepared for his words, I instantly burned with rage to slap him. "Talon, you shameless bastard, even fantasizing about your sister-in-law. How disgusting." Just as he was about to speak, a prolonged police siren sounded. He immediately tried to flee, but my husband yanked him back. "Explain yourself to the police." Chapter 13. It turns out that Talon's actions were even crazier than we had Imagine, the grandmother hit her head on a sharp corner and died due to delayed medical treatment, while Zayden's autopsy report revealed he was strangled to death. Under police interrogation, Talon confessed to all his crimes. It turned out that the grandmother had already passed away on the same day Zayden suffered a miscarriage due to physical trauma. With leverage over Talon, Zayden was naturally smug as a cat with cream, ordering both the father-in-law and Talon around to do all sorts of chores, claiming she needed nutritional supplements to recover. For the first couple of days, everyone coexisted peacefully, but when supplies ran out and the mother-in-law's body began to decay, having nothing to eat while still being bossed around, finally, under yet another threat from Zayden, Talon flew into a rage, stormed into the kitchen, and stabbed Zayden in the stomach with a knife, then cooked and ate her. After eating like this for over a week, Talon turned his attention to the father-in-law. Knowing his son's nature, the old man proposed seeking us out to save his own life. The two brought what they called food supplies and trekked north to our city. Following their memory, they found our neighborhood but forgot which unit we lived in. Seeing that the third-floor residents were kind and easy to bully, they extorted them thoroughly. Unexpectedly, we had already moved away, driven by hunger and impulse. Talon took another life. Hearing this, both my husband and I couldn't help but vomit. The shock was simply too overwhelming. Chapter 14. It happened a long time ago. Talon was sentenced to death for committing multiple murders with particularly cruel methods. Bystanders uploaded the mall footage online, making Talon an overnight internet sensation. When the sentencing results were announced, the incident quickly sparked a frenzy across the web. Our family, as victims of the incident, also became internet famous, with media outlets coming to report on us. There's also Zayden, whose mother is publicly denouncing Talon's crimes online. I later learned that Zayden's father actually braved the snowstorm to pick up his daughter after receiving her call that day. Tragically, the blizzard made movement difficult, and the old man stumbled into an uncovered manhole, losing his life just like that. My husband and I had long since moved away from that city, selling all our properties both in our hometown and the urban area, relocating to a coastal town. Life is quite pleasant now. Celine has grown into a fine young lady, studying diligently and making both her father and me very proud. Though in midnight reveries we often reminisce about the past, we all feel the second chance given by fate was too dreamlike to be true, yet it has granted our family of three this ordinary yet blissful life we now cherish with full contentment.